Welcome everybody to a beautiful Algarve in the south of Portugal for the finale of the Michelin Le Mans Cup. After 6 individual races that took us to Barcelona at the start of the year, we've been to Le Mans in the meantime, and most recently Spa and Mugello. Here for a 1 hour and 50-minute race to determine the LMP3 champions for 2024. Only the LMP3s still need to be decided, because with a round to spare, Matt Kurzajewski and Alessandro Balzan sealed the GT3 part of the entry, but we're still set fair for a cracking GT3 race on its own, and there are still second and third and fourth places to be decided within that championship as well. So both races being held today, as in Le Mans Cup and the European Le Mans Series, to provide a true finale to the year. That's a reminder of where we have been. Remember, Le Castellet was the second round of the season. That's the one I didn't mention. I'm not really sure why. Barcelona, Le Castellet, 2 Road to Le Mans races, 55 minutes each, although the first of those didn't actually get much beyond 4 laps. And then Belgium, Italy and Portugal to complete the season. I'm Johnny Palmer. I'm joined as always by Graham Goodwin, the editor of dailysportscar.com. And it's many hours in a very small room covering what is going to be just a cracking day's motorsport, I think. Yes, we've got GT3 title winners already, but everything else is up for grabs.
Press that button. It's titles up for grabs, but it's going to be a great race in its own right. This is effectively an hors d'oeuvre ahead of the main course of the European Le Mans Series this afternoon. But in typical Michelin Le Mans Cup style, what they've done with that hors d'oeuvre is just sprinkled chili oil liberally all over it. So it's going to get spicy, and it's going to get spicy very quickly. This is going to be highly entertaining, and there's all sorts of storylines. One of them, of course, is yet another campaign from the Iron Dames. It's Celia Martin Cangayad aboard the Lamborghini, with all sorts of options up in the air as to what the future of this programme, this multi-platform programme, is looking like. Won't have very long to wait to find out the answers to some of those questions, and there are some very interesting answers to some of those questions, I can tell you, to come. But what a big part this team, this effort has made in increasing interest levels from a whole new audience. It's inspirational stuff. But towards the sharper end of the grid, just look at it, 28 of these LMP3 cars, and we've said it before, it's going to be 10, by the way, GT3 cars. So very sadly, the incident that gave us that long red flag in qualifying means there will be no Stella Motorsport Audi. But we do have both Kessel Racing Ferraris, albeit one with a storyline to come when we run through the grid, Johnny. 74 car, 4th place on the grid in this 10-car battle that we're about to release. And well placed amongst a grid dotted with Ferraris.
Yeah, not 1, but 2 red flags yesterday in the qualifying session for GT3, and one rather more lengthy than the other, because as the Stella Motorsport Audi left the road, a very unusual place to have a spin, and I don't think we ever saw a full replay of precisely how it happened, but out of turn 8, which is fairly slow speed on the entry, you're going uphill, but then as you hit the power again, it is, I suppose, very easy to lose the car, and then once you're on the grass, the Stella Audi just seemed to gain momentum and hit the barrier, the Armco barrier, very hard indeed backwards, which significantly dishevelled the suspension. The rear left wheel was almost hanging off. And I think it's a drivetrain issue, maybe engine bay, that's been intruded as well. And they just couldn't get the car fixed again. Top marks to everybody here at the track for sorting the Armco, because they had to basically de-rig everything, pull it apart and then build it up again. And you and I were in maximum fill mode.
We were indeed. This is the number 90 Blackthorn Aston Martin, 1 of 2 here. This is the one with the Domino's pizza on the side. Here's a story. Man that was on the front row for the very first LMP3 race for the Michelin Le Mans Cup back in 2017, second on the grid behind Jean Glorieux, went on with Colin Noble to win that race, and has been, I think the 2 of them, the only 2 drivers that have been in every race since. This our pole position car in GT3. Remember, it is GT3, not LMGT3 in the Le Mans Cup, the 51 car, and these are also our title winners this year, Johnny. It's been a superb season for Matt Kurzajewski and Alessandro Balzan. That is Alessandro standing by the car, Matt aboard. And another cracking performance from AF Corsa.
Well, it was almost one and done for Kurzajewski to take the pole position, only his second of the season, having taken one right at the start, so bookending the year. Here's a full grid then. Fabian Michel will start for RHGP, their championship contenders, and Andrew Bentley for the Stellar Motorsport crew. So it was very much a mixed day with a front row start for their LMP3. Then Tony Wells and Alexander Bukantsov in the Nielsen Racing number 7 and into Europole competition 34. Adrian Schiller in the number 97 Cool Racing car is joined by Jens Reno Moller for high-class racing on the 3rd row. We'll deal with the championship contenders in LMP3 in just a tick. Julien Lemoine for ANS Motorsport, number 84, starts on the inside of row 4, and it's Pieter de Curtens for the crew known as Hegeli by T2 Racing. Then Tim Kresick for Inter Europole competition, their second car. Ben Stone for Breton Racing. Romano Ricci's M Racing number 13 starts 11th. Terence Woodward alongside for MV2S Racing. Then Christophe Lapierre for Racing Spirit of Le Mans and their number 10 car, the Golden Black, and James Sweetnam, who's been a race winner for Cool Racing this year. Then Jacek Zielonka for MV2S Racing, their second car, number 29, and Jamie Falvey alongside in the 26. Auden Gudmundsson, who started qualifying well, but then slipped down to 17th for Team Tour. Georgios Kolovos is alongside. Oscar Bitar in the 59, Team Virage car 19th. Shahan Sarkisian, he'll have to take a big penalty because of his successes or pace in the last couple of races during the pit stop. Mark van der Schnell will start from 21st place for More Motorsport, and Stefan Aust for Rinaldi Racing. It's Horst Feldmeier in the 50 Reiter Engineering car and CD Sport alongside. Then Eric de Donker for ANS Motorsport and Steve Parrow for Rinaldi. Andrew Ferguson's P4 Racing 27 starts 27th alongside George Nakas in the GG Classics car, number 58. And then AF Corsa's 51 Ferrari with its second pole position of the year for Matt Kurzajewski. This was a bronze-only session, as was the LMP3's. James Swift, a cracking effort from him in the Blackthorn Aston Martin to start second. Custodio Toledo in the 88 AF Corsa Ferrari is joined by a fellow Ferrari, but from Kessel for Andrew Gilbert. Then Celia Martin for Iron Dames, with Karen Gaillard also in that car. Nick Jones with her on that row. Josip Maiola for Biogas Motorsport. And the Biogas car has the Proton Huber competition, Porsche of Jorg Dreisoff. And finally, Claude Bouvet and David Fuminelli. Now, he's the only non-bronze starting driver because of a crash yesterday to bring out the first red flag for Fred Jose. And if you don't set any times in qualifying, you get them deleted and also been told not to do any more running in the red flag. And because of that, you have to start from the back with your quickest driver, who automatically is David Fuminelli.
Absolutely. So getting closer and closer to race start. I'm sure tension on the grid building with the teams still in title contention. But there'll be plenty more than those title contenders, Johnny, that will have their eye on the top step, the second step and the third step of the podium here. It's been quite a while that we've had our season finales here at Portimão. Always been made to feel very welcome. Drivers love this circuit. It's also a great circuit for spectators, whether or not you're up in that stunning grandstand atop the pits building or at various points around the circuit. It's the 8th place car in LMP3, Hegeli by T2 Racing. It'll be Peter de Curtens to start, the number 67 Duquesne. That is Yannick Dalmas, 4 times Le Mans winner. And a very key part of the safety team and the race direction team here as driver advisor to our race direction squad.
So moving towards the front of the field now and qualifying in 7th position in yesterday's 15 minutes for the LMP3s, the 84 car for ANS Motorsport. It'll be started by Julien Lemoine and Paul Trajani, who's also been in Ligier European Series action this weekend, sitting in for Clement Moreno. So he'll be joining as the silver, Julien Lemoine, as the various inspections are taking place. I promised you then the scene set for the championship in LMP3, because this is one that needs to be decided over the next just shy of 2 hours. And Fabian Michel, Adrian David are top on 67 points, so that will be now 68 points, and therefore 7.5 back, Adrian Schiller and David Drew. And Schiller will start from 5th position in the number 97 car, so a little bit of work to do. But Fabian Michel, no doubt about it, has been the qualification specialist. 5 poles now, the only ones that he didn't manage to do were the Road to Le Mans events, and they're slightly different anyway because the Pro actually gets a chance to qualify the car for one of those sessions. So it's really between those two, but outside bets for Jens Reno Moller and Tommy Foster in the car that will start, what did I say, 6th place for the 20 car and high-class racing.
Yeah, well placed. They are the 3 potential title contenders, and as we've seen throughout the history of the Michelin Le Mans Cup, particularly in this LMP3 era, Johnny, it can throw anything at you. The one thing it doesn't look like it's going to throw at us today is weather. It's set fair, there's a light breeze, beautiful sunny skies this morning.
3 minutes board on the grid. 3 minutes, please clear the grid.
The other important thing to remember is that there's no strict pit lane window, as in a point where the window opens and closes. However, each of your drivers has got to do a minimum of 45 minutes. So once the bronze has done about that time, 3/4 of an hour or so, the cars will come in to do their driver change, and they are restricted by time. There's a lot of marker pen writing on the front of this car.
I think that's because this is likely to be the last frontline LMP3 race for Nielsen Racing. They are focusing very much on their P2 stuff going forward. Last race, the V8, of course, as well. That needs to be confirmed, by the way, but I do know they're looking to at least scroll back on that, and perhaps we might not see Nielsen back in P3. I saw Stella number 42 car, whilst no Audi on the grid for Stella Motorsport after that shunt. The 42 Duquesne is there and on the front row of the grid. An all Duquesne front row.
Yeah, and it didn't seem like it was going to go that way part-way through the qualifying session, because I remember at least top 6 were all Ligiers. There's a reminder of the points, and that does add the point for pole position for the R-Race GP number 85 from last night. However, Fabien Michel is going to have to spend 42 extra seconds in pit lane. It's a long stop anyway, 170 seconds, so 2 minutes 50 is the time for everybody, and then you can bolt on 42 seconds for the 85 car, 40 seconds for the number 2 CD Sport car that will be started by Shahan Sarkissian, and 27 seconds, additional seconds, for the P4 Racing Ligier of Andrew Ferguson that will be taken over by Louis Hamilton Smith after that.
Yeah, so all sorts of bits and pieces into it. One bit of important information to anybody watching, and welcome around the world watching in this morning. Here in Portimão, 1 second.
1 minute board on the grid, 1 minute board on the grid. Clear the grid.
Is that 2 races today. It is the Michelin Le Mans Cup this morning, but 2 p.m. local will be the season finale, unusually on a Saturday, for the European Le Mans Series. Don't miss that. That is the season.
Get everyone in place for 2. It's actually a 2:30 start, but you know, get to the front of the fence.
Absolutely.
Whether you're in your front room or here at the track.
4 hours of what is going to be stellar entertainment, and all titles still up for grabs.
30 seconds board, 30 seconds board.
So you want a preview of some of the teams that are going to be at the 24 Hours of Le Mans next year. That's your first opportunity to do that, because it will be the title winners in each of those 4 classes, plus the second place in the championship in P2. All of that this afternoon, but right now, Johnny, it's chili oil on the hors d'oeuvre, and we're about to go with the formation lap.
This is also a lovely moment for Morgane Tison, who has had so much service to the Le Mans Cup since it began in 2016. She's been part of the organisation team for the GT3 Le Mans Cup, and then it turned into the Michelin Le Mans Cup when LMP3's joined the party in 2017. She's got a great opportunity with the World Endurance Championship moving forward into 2025. But just a great touch from the championship to allow her to wave the green flag, because it's a series that she's been actively involved with for the last 9 seasons.
Worth saying, by the way, we talk a lot about the Iron Dames and the other female drivers, and that's been a brilliant part of moving forward with what we all want to see, which is far more female involvement at the top end of motorsport. It's a very familiar sight now to see female engineers and mechanics in just about every garage, but this is a fairly unique package. All 3 levels on the package we have in the European Le Mans Series have got very capable women at the helm of those championships. With Gaëlle the series manager for the European Le Mans Series, Morgan, as you quite rightly say here, the Le Mans Cup, and Elsa Nicolay with the Ligier European Series. That is inspirational too.
Frankly, we need people like that to keep all those blokes in line, because we can misbehave and we get distracted by lots of stuff.
Yeah, we do have
the responsible adults.
We do have well-defined boundaries for all. I'm going to stop talking now because one of them is going to come in and we're going to be scolded again.
Thanks, everyone. Well, thank you, Morgan, particularly.
Absolutely.
She's not leaving the ACO paddock as such, but yeah, years of service. And would the Michelin Le Mans Cup be quite where it is today without her experience and all those emails that it took me a while to get on that email train, but I'm there now and feel fully informed. So, one more race to go, and 3 teams really that can win the title in LMP3, but there will be plenty of cars and crews out there looking not quite to spoil the party, but not interested in the championship. They just want to win the final race of the year and create opportunity in 2025, whether they're thinking of making the step up from GT3 to LMP3 perhaps, or maybe fully into the European Le Mans Series. This is a chance to draw attention to your talents if you're a driver. And Bronze is always looking for the next big gig moving forward on the ladder, which has been neatly constructed. We dealt with 2 cracking Ligier European Series races yesterday, and congratulations to Hayden Chance and to Theo Mikuris, also David Cossonel and Julien Schell, who have won titles in the JSP4 and the JS2R divisions within that. And that's deliberately the kind of entry formula into a championship like this.
Gaps, please.
Absolutely. This it's been work in progress, hasn't it, this ladder system. Stella Motorsport guys, Max and Stella.
Reminder to all teams, exit T12, assume grid position.
And it's been a massive success in just about every way. Numerically, these grids have grown over the last 3, 4, 5 years, despite the challenges the planet threw at us with COVID. And then, if you take a look, just take a look at the entry list. Have a look on the series website or Wikipedia, entry lists for the Michelin Le Mans Cup from 3, 4, 5 years ago. And look at where those teams and drivers are now. That's what this means. That's what this is for, as well as those drivers for whom this is the scale of their ambition.
Gaps, please.
Gwen Boursier trying to get the message across that the gaps are, if anything, growing too large now, because by the final sector, turn 13 and 40, we'd like everybody to be getting into 2x2 formation. And this track, the shortest that we visit all the way through the year, but yes, there's a very, very long straight, which gives you the opportunity for a slipstream. But the first corner, Primera, is really tough. If you approach from a very shallow angle right next to the curb, it's questionable whether you'll even get through the corner. You may well run out of road. So 2 abreast into the first corner doesn't always work.
Exit T12, grid position. T12, grid formation.
But then Tour of It, which is the hard-braking left-hand hairpin in the shadow of the rotunda.
Yeah, the front row are doing it. Please, behind, pack up 2x2, 2x2.
Samsung is the tricky uphill approach into turn 8. Craig Jones, the sweeping left-hander, and then into Portimão, turns 10 and 11, at which point you drop a great height.
Let's close these gaps. 2x2, exit T12. Exit T12, the back of the grid, you are too much delayed.
Turn 12,
close the gaps.
So rewarding when you get it right. And then 13's an overtaking opportunity as well. Sagres, very important, because that determines your speed through Galp, the final corner, and on to the start-finish straight. All of these cars are required to stop once for at least 170 seconds, but in the case of 3 cars, longer than that.
2x2, it's too late, it's too late.
We tend not to get full-course yellows in this championship. There'll be a safety car, but that won't close the pit lane. Senan Fielding watching on.
GT, don't leave too much gap. GT, don't leave too much gap.
But
reminder, 2x2 until the start line. 2x2 until the start line. No overtake before the line.
One thing we've not really mentioned is how Portimão can serve up a very unexpected final race. It just has that nature about it, and you can think you've thought through all the various different permutations and possibilities, and then something absolutely crazy is thrown at us. So hold on to your hats. Hopefully you've got a good position if you are here at the circuit, or you're settled in for the day wherever you may be around the world. We're underway for the final race of the year in the Michelin Le Mans Cup, and initially it is a good getaway for Fabien Michel, and now under pressure for that second place is Andrew Bentley. No, he's actually got into the first corner, sweeping through it and keeping the momentum, but these first few corners are tippy-toe stuff. Ambient temperature's not that cool, but it will take a bit of time for the tyres to become very hot and sticky, and for the brakes, and there's a bit of carnage in the background there, possibly a spinner. There's certainly some debris on the road at turn 3, as now Alexander Bukantsov slipping down a position, looking for a way by Jens Reno Moller.
Yeah, it's a great start to the final race of the season, and with pretty limited issues, it seems. 1 or 2 cars though making a liar of me straight away. GG Classics of George Nakas dropped back into the GT3 order and has had a spin down at the hairpin.
So that's turn 5, where there are yellow flags now being waved, but assuming that he can pull away from the scene, hopefully we don't need to go into some sort of neutralisation.
Can't say James Swift has taken the lead of GT3. He's just got a nose ahead of the Of Course championship winning car, the 51.
Pieter de Curtens delayed in all of that as well, slipping down the order, I notice. So the 67 car for Hegeli by T2 Racing has now gone through, and now the 71 car is in the gravel at the top of the hill at Portimão. So
safety car is called immediately
for that. Safety car, sadly.
That is going to take a recovery, so that is going to retain, because that was, safety car was called, and an overtake from the 2 Ferraris on the leading car. So that came after the safety car was signalled. So they're going to allow the number 90 car, I think, to regain that position.
It's always tough. Yes, the safety car is announced, but how quickly can you get the message to your driver? The boards go out as well at each of the individual marshal posts. I mentioned that Pieter de Curtens was slipping down the order, and that is the reason why rear right not too pretty at all on the Hegeli by T2 Racing car.
Is that just a puncture? Is that damage? Couldn't quite see from the angle we first got whether or not that's Michelin tyre. Remember, it is the Michelin Le Mans Cup, Michelin rubber on all of these LMP3 and GT3 cars. Well,
I don't think de Curtens was involved in the Stefan Aust incident, but he may well have been involved with the George Nakas spin, because both cars, both the 67 and the 58, had very, very slow second sectors. So have they somehow become hooked up together in the braking area for Tora Vic? Stefan Aust, no idea how he ended up in the gravel there, but he may well have been trying to go for an overtake in the 71 Rinaldi racing car.
It's a rather shredded Michelin from the number 67 car, but hopefully no further harm. And with the cars under safety car conditions, we'll be able to rejoin the back of the queue. So it's going to be a positional loss, but not too much in terms of time. Here from Steph Wentworth, patrolling pit lane. No other visible damage. Thanks very much for that, Steph.
And Steph will be catching up with generally drivers getting out from their first stints later on, and also chatting with winners and certainly champions at the end of this. So David Fuminelli's wasted no time at all. He was put in because he was told to by the regulations, and he now actually leads the category for Kessel Racing Car 12. There were some dubious overtakes, though, that may have happened after the safety car was called.
I do wonder whether or not that was one of them. But either way, getting up to challenge for the lead to that point inside a single lap, that's quite something.
It took him a couple of sectors probably to be about 5th. And then when the safety car was called, the GT3 leaders were at turn 14, 15, heading through Sagres. But this is the sorry sight of Stefan Aust's Rinaldi racing car now going a lap down. There's nothing to stop him rejoining the race, assuming the 71 is not damaged. But it's rather put paid to a decent result today. 71 being shared by Felipe Fernandez-Laza.
Felipe Laza with all sorts of experience. He'll be hoping to get the opportunity to climb aboard this car. There is our race leader, Fabien Michel. Now, this is not good news for this team.
I was thinking that.
Because, why is that the case, Johnny? Because with time behind the safety car, he can't pull the gap that he absolutely is going to need to offset that pit lane handicap.
Yeah, it's locking everybody into position, and we've already had 5 minutes of this 1 hour and 50-minute race. And what he wanted was a nice spell of green flag running, no safety car in his stint at all, ideally. So he could have built, well, a 42-second gap on everybody. Would have been very nice, so that then when you take the penalty, the extra time in the pit stop, it doesn't actually affect your position. But he's going to have to come out probably further down the order, and then that puts the pressure on Adrian David, his teammate, to work his way up against fellow silvers and golds.
So the stricken 71 car is being lifted to a point where it can rejoin, so it will lose just the 1 lap by the look of things if it doesn't need to come into the pit lane. Here's a replay of the start.
So Fabian Michel on the left of your picture got the pedal down. Alexander Bukantsov actually threading his way through to 3rd position, very nearly 2nd. But then Andrew Bentley sweeping across the nose of the yellow and green into Europol competition car. Jens Moller was properly involved though as well in the red and white, the number 20 high-class entry. And briefly, Bukantsov was scored ahead of Moller in 3rd position, but then he dropped back again and was challenging for that 3rd place the first time into Tour of it. Lots of tyre smoke into turn 3 for the first time of asking. I thought I saw some debris on the road. Yeah, there was a little bit, maybe a dive plane going for a Burton early on, but that didn't prevent us from continuing to race initially. There were no spinners, and everybody made room for one another, which you really should commend. Because, and then there was this issue. Now, it just appears that the 58 car turned right. I was wondering whether the Hegeli car was involved with that. George Nakas in the 58 steering right when he wanted to be going left at the hairpin. And now back into the race, as we'd hoped, Stefan Aust in the number 71 Rinaldi racing car. And he's going to be asked now to motor round as quickly as possible to catch up with the safety car train. Unfortunately for him, he is a lap off everybody else's distance, though. It's still 2 decanes leading in the hands of Fabian Michel and Andrew Bentley. And an excellent first few corners, really, for David Fuminelli, if he is allowed to hold on to the class lead in car number 12. The downside for the Kessel Racing crew is that they're burning gold time right now. They'll have to plug their bronze in for a minimum of 45 minutes later in the piece. And that is where they may well lose a bit of ground. And again, this is not good for the 12, because when you're forced to put your gold in, you want it to stay green to build as big a gap as possible. You
do indeed. All 38 cars that started this race on are in that safety car train. It will be a matter of getting the intervention vehicles and staff to a place of safety. I'm sure Greg Boursier will be doing his best to get this race back under green flag conditions. Quick shot there of 2 of the, I was going to say elder statesmen, elder statespeople in this paddock. It's not one of those, that's Nico Lapierre, San and Fielding, but a quick shot of Jacques Nicolet, the patron of Ligier, now in the hands of his son Pierre, but also Madame Megalvonde, who's one of the pit crew, looks after tyres for Cool Racing. She's the mother of one of our journalistic and PR colleagues, Anthony Megavond, and as a long-time marshal, wanted to get involved hands-on in the team and join Cool Racing at the end of last season. And is a much valued member of their pit crew, and it's fair to say that Madame Megavond is no longer in her 20s.
30s then?
I think at least.
Yeah.
And I'm going to say no more than that. I think she's absolutely mega.
Bond. The incident, apparently, that George Nakas was involved with, also potentially involved Custodio Toledo in the 88 AF Corsa Ferrari. Current points being displayed on the bottom of your screen now, and that would elevate RSGP into a massive lead because they're leading the race. However, we can't really go by that right now, because really we should get the pit stops out of the way to find out where the RSGP car rejoins. 97 is down to 7th, having started from 5th place, so it's not been a good few corners for Adrian Schiller. Could have been worse, I suppose, but losing a couple of spots.
Well, one bit of a clue, the incident involving cars 88 Toledo and 58 Nakas at turn 5 under review, causing a collision.
Yeah, I did just say that.
Apologies, I was concentrating on something to do with timing and scoring. but we'll wait to
So
see
yeah,
what...
but that doesn't explain what happened to Pieter de Kertens in the 67, and I wondered whether those two had got together, but apparently it's Toledo who would have been at the front of the GT3s, and Nakas, who was, with the greatest respect, towards the rear of the LMP3, so they've maybe got tangled up. The safety car's going to come in at the end of this lap, and that is why the lights are out. Fabien Michel's backing the speed down, and it's down to him to initiate the restart. So not going yet, heading through the right-hander at Sagres, and now he hits the loud pedal, and actually Andrew Bentley reacts pretty well to that in the Stella Motorsport car.
So 10 minutes on the safety car for recovery of that 71 car that's now back in the train, and away we go again, Johnny Palmer.
Okay, so at a gallop, up the little lip and onto the level of the start-finish straight. It is Michel and Bentley and Moller, but Alexander Bukantsov, the body language of his car has certainly appeared racy. However, he's risking losing a place himself because Tony Wells shaping him up for an overtake. They arrive into the first corner side by side, but Bukantsov was able to brake a little bit later. He almost brakes too late into turn 3. There's a big puff of tyre smoke from the number 34 into Europol competition car, but he is still ahead of Tony Wells. And Adrian Schiller, who is trying to stay with Fabien Michel in regards to the championship, also under pressure from a hard-charging Ben Stone in the early stages in that Breton car.
Absolutely, Tony Wells actually did manage to get by the nose ahead at the line, but Bukantsov toughed it out into and through turn 1 to retake that position.
Yeah, so it's flip-flopping a little bit for Alexander Bukantsov. At times that car looks very, very good, but now Jens Moller is disappearing up the road. Moller looking to apply the pressure to the rear of Andrew Bentley's car. And in the GT3 division, James Swift versus Matt Kurzajewski for second and third. Nothing was said during the safety car period that the number 12 car had to give that place back again. So now romping away David Fuminelli, but it's probably right to keep our focus on the second place fight, because that could be the real one for the win, bearing in mind that Fuminelli's car is expected to drop back once they've done their driver change.
Indeed, Fabien Michel leads the way from Andrew Bentley, Jens Moller, Alexander Bukantsov complete the top 4, with Tony Wells and still in close contention and looking to make life difficult for the Europol man. But it is the green and yellow car at the moment that is putting the pressure on, and the pressure is coming the way of high-class racing.
Swift under big pressure from the AF Corsa Ferrari, so Kessel lead it, but the Blackthorn Aston, well, has good speed off the corner, so the Ferrari was right with it, but it can't necessarily use the toe as they go down the main straight. Also keep an eye on Toledo in behind in the 88 car, under review potentially for what happened at Tour of It on the opening lap.
There have been some dramas for Oscar Bitar. He's dropped all the way down to 23rd place. That might have been an issue up at turn 11, 12, but towards the end of the lap, lost something like 10 or 12 places. The Team Virage car still running, but right at the tail of the main field of LMP3s. And there is the number 6 car. That's ANS Motorsports' Eric Dodonka, stationary to the side of the road. That's turn 4.
Kurzajewski using quite a bit of the track and beyond it as well to get a good exit out of Tour of It and up the hill through the kink. But the ANS car has become stranded, well, just after turn 4, so they're showing the yellows at 3 and 4 now. That left-hander awkward onto the back straight. James Swift, during this sector, doesn't appear to have the strongest car, comparing it to Kurzajewski, but the Aston's very, very good on the main start-finish straight.
Cracking stuff from James Swift, only his second race in this car. He's been showing very well indeed in both qualifying. Single that pace, he's going to lose the position there though. Moves the car across.
Couldn't really have done much about that. As I say, the Ferrari seems to be the more manoeuvrable car. Not too far away. Celia Martin as well. We've got to go full course yellow.
Deploy full course yellow in.
And there was almost an overtake there from Bukantsov on Moller. We're not actually in the full course yellow yet. We're going to head past the yellow flag area though, so you can't overtake. Heading by the stricken number 6 of Eric Dodonka.
All cars at 80 at T4 bear right. T4 bear right. we have marshals and Manitou expose.
It was heads-up stuff there from Bukantsov. I think he had the opportunity to grab that place, but realised he was coming into a yellow flag zone and pulled out of it.
Yeah.
But that bodes well for the Inter-Europol car when this race goes back to green. He's got pace at the moment. So that was Bitar going around. That's up at turn 11, isn't it? Turn 10, 11.
No, it's right at the end of the lap.
You're right, it's 14-15.
Yeah. So he spun to the grass, and yeah, the little extra bit of road which they use for the bike racing, I think, is the chicane on the inside of turn 15 there.
Turn 14, 15 here, I mean, it is pretty epic. It looks so simple, but how many times have we seen, whether it's track conditions, whether it's debris on track, and whether it's just actually overestimating the amount of grip you can carry through with the pace you've got at turn 15 producing dramas, and there's another one right there for Oscar Bitar.
Yeah, I mean, that could have been a lot more nasty than it turned out. Thankfully, the grass actually stopped him going further, unlike the Stella Motorsport Audi accident yesterday when it went down the bank and into the barrier.
So this is less bad, if you like, for the two cars at the front of the two fields. Fabien Michel had pulled out a gap at this whilst we came out of the safety car period, and also Kessel Racing's David Fuminelli also forcing a gap now. That should be retained for the most part under full course yellow, rather than the field compressing behind a safety car. And it's been chosen to be a full course yellow because it's a pretty easy recovery from there for the stricken car, although may have to cross the track.
Good point. So, yeah, going to have to wait for a big-ish gap in order to do that. 80 kph, 50 miles per hour is a fair lick around here. So they'll have to be identifying the marshals that big gap between the tail ender, which is the 58 car of GG Classics. Well, having said that, Stefan Aust is still running, of course, but he'll be in the midfield on the road, although he is a lap down and therefore scored as the final car. But as soon as the GG Classics light blue machine heads through turn 4,
T4,
they'll have a significant gap.
bear right until the exit of T4. T4, bear right.
Before the 85 arrives on the scene. And plenty of warning as well, because they'll hear the cars coming through turns 1, 2 and 3 before they arrive at 4. So hopefully this is a quick recovery, as you mentioned. And it remains to be seen whether Eric de Doncker can get that car restarted. Not sure how he ended up there, in actual fact. May just have pulled off the road and parked it.
So we've got a flatbed on site. Is that going to be grabbed over the barrier, or we're going to get a tow car to the, I think the next gap in the arm code that will allow recovery is down the hill at turn 5. Looks they are going to lift it over the barrier.
This was the start of the race at 10:30 this morning, and Bukantsov diving down the inside of Moller. They were side by side through turns 1, 2 and 3. 1 or 2 running wide though then, running out of brakes because they won't have been up to operating temperature. Big lockup for one of the Team Virage cars, which may well have been Oscar Bitar in actual fact. But despite 1 or 2 unconventional routes through the first few corners, everybody got through until this point. And George Nakas spinning. Still couldn't quite tell whether Custodio Toledo was involved with that. And then much more recently, the rotation for Oscar Bitar, which saw him go up the grass bank on the inside of Galp corner, turn 15. And when he did continue on, we've only had 1 car into the pit so far, which is the Beata de Curtins Hegeli by T2 racing car with that puncture. And again, we're not entirely sure how that actually happened, but no damage to the 67.
We will be removing full course yellow in 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Full course yellow is now removed.
Just over 90 minutes of the race still to go. It's been a troublesome opening 20 though, with 1 safety car, with 1 full course yellow. And now Fabien Michel will be really hoping that he can start to establish a much larger race lead. It was timed at 3.3 seconds behind the full course yellow. Should open up to a great deal more than that. Again, yellows at the Portimão sequence of corners, but they've cleared very quickly. The top of the hill at 11 and 10. And the start of the final sector. So lap 8 is about to be completed, and Fabien Michel leads by, well, we get a real-time gap in just a tick. It's about 3.5 seconds. Michel back to Andrew Bentley, and Jens Moller, who has a very much an outside chance of taking the championship. He'd need a nightmare for the 85 and the 97, and a very good result for his number 20 car. But mathematically still possible, and still on for a podium as things stand.
Under 90 minutes to go for this season. And there is a change. That is Tony Wells on the restart. Has gone by Alexander Bekantsov. The Nielsen Racing's number 7 car up into 4th place. Jens Reiner Moller ahead. Just ahead. Estedo Toledo, by the way, I suspect for the incident. There's a hit on the rear of the 88 car, the 34 car, by the Cool Racing car behind. Adrian Chiller did impact the rear of the 34 car that's now stationary in the middle of the road and looking for a gap to rejoin.
That's a real shame. Alexander Bekantsov had been going quite well up until that point, dicing for the top 3 places. Now Célia Martin starting to turn the screw on James Swift's Aston Martin number 90. And again, the Aston may be struggling in this first sector. No, it's good down the straight, so the back straight generally okay as well. But then in the more tighter corners, the mid-engine cars look a little stronger, and she will actually take that place on the exit of Tora Vip as they climb the hill. It's a steep hill. Cameron tends to flatten that section out, but it's quite a climb out of 5 to 6 and on to 7, and particularly into turn 8 as well. Very tricky off-camber right-hander. The Lamborghini is now into 3rd position. Indeed.
Now the 97 car is one of our tougher contenders, of course.
Yes.
That could be a significant moment for them. Let's see how race control call it.
Yeah, Cool and Andrew and Schiller were definitely involved, and maybe there was enough contact to spin the car. That's what they'll be checking on.
There's definitely enough contact to spin the car. The key is going to be what caused the contact. Was it an overly ambitious move from Cool Racing Adrian Schiller, or did Alexander Bekantsov? Let's see it again. Nothing wrong with that from Bekantsov. I'm afraid that's on Schiller.
Yeah, having seen it again, I think no question.
He didn't check up. There was no lift where he shouldn't have been. He went into and through the corner on the correct line at the correct speed, and it was there was no gap there to take.
Yeah. Well, it's still under review. You probably do know what the answer is. What's that like to be? Drive-through penalty, maybe, for the 97
Quite
car?
possibly. And with us having had that early safety car, that's going to be costly. It's not what Cool Racing wanted to see. They have got a points deficit to make up. I guess the key thing here's a talking point, Johnny. It's something like 30 seconds on pit lane for a drive-through. You don't lose 30 seconds, but it's maybe 25.
Yeah.
That's a big chunk of the pit stop handicap that RHGP are going to get.
True.
And that's the gap that matters.
Yeah, with an extra 42 going to go their way. And yeah, that's an easy comparison, really. The amount of time that you have to spend in the pit lane if you're any one of the non-3 cars that are mentioned on the bulletin. 3 cars will have to spend extra time, and the race leader the most at 42 seconds. But if that is a penalty coming the way of 97, that's certainly something that will be welcomed by the RSGP duo.
It's a very welcome news if it comes that way. Further car that's going to be taking longer on pit lane when we get there is Christophe Lapierre in the currently 8th place Racing Spirit Le Mans car. That's a start infringement for the number 10 car. I don't know if there's any more of those to come. That's most likely not following the grid hatchings.
Yeah, because although you'd have to stop the car, obviously, because it's a rolling start, you do need to be the correct distance from the car to your right or left, and have to drive right through the centre of the grid hatching. It's got to be in the correct order as well, no overtaking permitted before the line, and all of that was stressed by the race director, Gwen Boursier, before we started, so no excuses. Battle for 18th position in LMP3 involves Jacek Zielonka, Christian Short and Horst Felbermeier for MV2S, Season Sport and the Reiter crew. So up and down the order, we've got very, very close fighting, and now starting to spice up for second and third in the GT3s. Ferrari versus Lamborghini.
Yeah, that's because we've seen the Lamborghini Iron Dames car, Cillian Martin, has gone by James Swift's Aston Martin, is now starting to try to find a way past our championship winning car, the 51 car of AF Corsa. Another move, by the way, towards the sharp end of the grid, of the race rather. Tony Wells is up to third now, ahead of Jens Müller. Of course, Jens Müller, that's the third place car in the championship, I think.
It is. Yeah.
So that's points taken away at the moment from that fight.
True. But as I say, it's a very much an outside chance for the 20 crew. But if they can gain one or two places here and there, and particularly out-position their major championship rivals, that could be valuable. They're hoping for a nightmare, though, for RHGP. Not going that way so far, with 25 minutes of the race done. 4.5 seconds the advantage for Fabien Michel, and now potential overtake down into Tour of Vip as late on the brakes goes to 26. It was Breton on Breton.
That's Jamie Falvey going by Ben Stone. One point to make here with these LMP3 championship contenders. It's very full everywhere in major endurance race championships, and a championship win here in LMP3 effectively gives a route into the European Le Mans Series for 2025, and to say that it's oversubscribed would be a dramatic understatement. The talking point in the paddock here is who's going where is there space to go, with some teams with some pretty exciting plans with exciting cars. Not certain there's going to be room for them at the end at their chosen championship.
Yeah, and disappointment potentially for a number of runners, but the ACO will try and facilitate an entry if at all possible, and then maybe provide alternatives as well. But it just shows you how popular this type of racing is now, and word is spreading. We always said, why can't one or two people know a bit more about this racing than it even happens? Well, that is now working a treat with interest so high.
Well, just look at the array of talent in the European Le Mans Series, Continental Series supporting, of course, the ladder that reaches as high as the FI World Endurance Championship. This is the next ladder rung down. Teams and drivers with aspirations to move on forward. Fastest lap of the race, meanwhile, goes to Andrew Bentley. Bad news that for Fabien Michel, as it's restricting the damage now. So it's just 4.4 seconds, the lead for RSGP. The rhythm of this race in the early minutes, Johnny's not gone their way. They've got the pace to extend the lead, but with the safety car and then pretty rapidly afterwards a full course yellow, they've not been allowed to do that.
David Fuvinelli is being told to respect the track limits in his GT3 race leading Kessel Racing Ferrari, so he's made an absolute jump for this out front. You might be checking the graphics thinking 18 seconds after 27 minutes, but remember the different gradings of the drivers. Every single car in this race has to have a bronze, and generally speaking, teams will start with that bronze driver to do the opening 45 minutes or so. Because of the incident that involved Fred Jose and his Ferrari yesterday, meant that car didn't set any times at all in qualifying. It had to start from the back of the field, and also there's that little regulation to say you've got to put your star driver in as well, who is Fuminelli. So we'll still have a stint at the end of this, the final 45 minutes or so for Frederic Jose, and that's where the field will equalise in GT3. So you've got to stick with this, as things will fluctuate a great deal. Looking at that gap between Fabien Michel and Andrew Bentley, it is condensing again.
It's coming down.
4.2, and Bentley, as you mentioned, now has the fastest lap of the race. Are they hitting traffic yet? Yes, they're right in the middle of it. So that's going to... Oh, no, beg pardon, I'm misreading that. There are some LMP3s in amongst GT3s, but they're actually all on the same lap. No, the road is still clear ahead of Fabien Michel. He's exiting turn 8 now.
That is Andrew Bentley going very well indeed.
Down the inside of the Cool Racing number 87 goes Shahan Sarkissian, so that's a move on James Sweetnam.
That is for 15th place at the moment. This is, remember, these are the opening salvos, with the vast majority of these cars with their bronze drivers. This is often the case. The tempo will increase after the compulsory pit stops. 50 car there. Felbermeyer livery on the right, engineering entered car. In the hands of Hurst Felbermeyer.
So some conversations, I'm sure, being had all the way up and down pit road. The bronze stint time, which we're expecting to be about 45-50 minutes, has been compromised by a safety car and a full course yellow, both of which were relatively short, but not great if you are one of the leading runners in each of the two categories. David Fuminelli's task here is to try and open this gap up as much as possible. Did they consider at all pitting that number 12 car to switch back to Fred Jose in the early stages to put the bronze at the wheel? Probably not, because it's going to be so costly. Now Nick Jones has gone wide though and gifted the position to Andrew Gilbert. That's at the top of the hill at Portimão, and an unforced error, rare thing actually from Nick Jones in his high-class racing Porsche.
Yeah, Nick's been significantly more convincing this season. He's put a lot of effort into his skill set, his condition. I didn't recognise him midway through the season. Lost a phenomenal amount of weight, looks fit as a butcher's dog. But you're right, that was an uncommon error from Nick.
The safety car lasted 9 minutes. The full course yellow was only 5 minutes in actual fact. So we've had some decent chunks of green flag running, but difficult to find the rhythm maybe for those towards the front. And 85, well, around the next corner, might be catching the Proton Uber competition Porsche of Jörg Dreishoff. Here is Celia Martin in the pink Lamborghini, and Toledo in that red with the central yellow stripes. Had a little bit of a think down the inside, probably not close enough. Toledo again late on the brakes, but third place still in the hands of the French woman, although she has a German flag next to her name. But if you look at the roof of the car, that is the French Chequered.
That's a change. Toledo has passed James Swift, who was the car behind the Lamborghini, so Swift dropping back a little in this stage of the race. Estadio Toledo beginning to gather pace, harvest a position or two as well. It is still Castle Racing's David Fuminelli that leads the race. Pro driver in the car after the car caused a red flag. The bronze driver not permitted to start the race in those circumstances. Matt Kurzejewski, our champion, is second, so it's a Ferrari 1-2, but it's Kessler ahead of AF Corsa. Then it's the Lamborghini of Celia Martin, and then AF Corsa's second car, the 88 of Castello Toledo. Trouble for the Proton Huber car of Jörg Dreishoff. Yeah. That's at turn 9. He's facing the wrong way, looking to get the car back around. Ran wide, over the curbs, and over to the grass on the inside, and there goes a gentle half spin. And not very nice to be watching cars coming over the rise towards you at unabated speed, although the yellow flag should help.
Again though, how did this car end up partially on the grass even before it came into our sight? Just before that is where the Stellar Motorsport Audi went off the road, and now there's another spinner for the Biogas Motorsport Ferrari.
It's a horrible place to be off as well.
Yellow flags will be being displayed on the entrance to Galp.
23, please advise us if you can rejoin.
So sitting broadside through a blind corner, and
we have double yellow T14, T15.
Sensibly.
Everybody to slow down, T14, T15.
Backing
T14,
away from the
T15.
racing line,
okay.
Because that, as you say, is a horrible place to be sitting and to collect your thoughts when you're trying to restart
T15
a car.
What did I say
clear.
just 5 minutes ago about the challenge of that 14-15?
T9 as well.
The wide open spaces could just drag you into feeling there's grip and space galore, but just being on the wrong line, clipping a curb there when the car's under so much load, and around it goes. And now another car going, that's the MV2S car, and mercifully missed by everybody, but I've no idea how.
Yellow at T3.
The problem is we can see what's going to happen in the next few seconds, but how is the visibility for a lot of the other cars out the front of it? You know, the A-pillar tends to get in the way of a car that is backwards on the grass, hitting the sausage curb and then arriving onto the track, almost airborne. So terrific driving from one of the Virage cars there to not turn in and apply the brakes and try and steer left at turn 3 in avoidance.
Well, that's 3 single car incidents, and I think all three are back on track and running again.
And we haven't needed anything more than a local yellow. So, is this the start of that incident a few moments ago at turn 3?
No, that's the more motorsport car, not the MV2S car.
Oh, it was MV2S,
that was just a neat
it?
pass from the CD Sport car.
So CD Sport number 11 that was, Christian Short getting ahead of Terence Woodward, who's also in an MV2S racing car. But the spinning MV2S, was that Zielonka then?
I think it was.
Okay. Just trying to work out, I don't think that car's completed a lap since, so just trying to work out whether it is the 28 or the 29. Now,
this is a battle for 4th place. Jens Reiner Moller holding off Adrian Schiller. James Swift getting a warning flag for track limits. He's in the midst of a 3-car battle, and these are the meets, the Aston Martin meet in a sandwich at the moment. Toledo ahead, and Andrew Gilbert has caught him side by side here between the 29 and 34.
so that's Zielonka and Alexander Bukantsov. Bukantsov had an early spin. He started his stint really well, but has dropped back to 21st position now.
It was Terence Woodward, by the way. It was the 28 car, because he's done a lap in at 1 minute 56. He's lost 10 seconds with that moment. And trouble there as well.
That was a few moments ago, too. And what's happening all of a sudden? The tyres seem not to be sticking for so many different cars in both classes as well. Temperature, it's not crazy hot, it's 22.8 at track temperature, but maybe just end of season. Well, yeah, wanting to push hard because there's time to be made up. We've had, as mentioned, 9-minute safety car, we've had a 5-minute full course yellow, and everyone's thinking, I need a bigger gap than this, and I'm about to hand the car over to my semi-pro driver. They've got back 10 more minutes to serve as the minimum drive time. Nearly 37 minutes in, and 45 is the mark where you can start to pit.
With some apologies, by the way, if you're watching on our YouTube stream. I know there's been some streaming problems. They're working hard to sort that out. Not Andrew Bentley, my apologies.
Andrew Gilbert. Lead change. Andrew Bentley's now ahead of Fabian Michel. So was that Michel having a moment? Bentley leads the race by 2.1 seconds. I don't remember that happening, Graham.
Well, it's certainly not the last lap, because he was only half a second. We've been too busy watching the carnage behind, and we've missed that with our apologies. But you're absolutely right, Stella Motorsport, what a day they've had, or weekend they've had. Audi sitting forlornly in the back of the truck, rather broken. But their Duquesne leads this race from Fabian Michel, the championship leader.
That's still not enough at this stage to swing. Well, actually, I should say Stella Motorsport are not involved in the championship. What I mean is, in reference to high-class racing and the 97 Cool Racing crew, they're hoping for more of a disaster for RHGP than simply dropping to 2nd place and losing out on 7 points. It's 25 for a win, it's 18 for 2nd place. Now more Motorsport going absolutely level pegging with the CD Sports 11 car of Christian Short.
They're up 7 minutes from the pit stop window, effectively, the driver change window. That was almost nose-to-tail contact. The more Motorsport car rather caught out by the car ahead, stumbling out of the corner. I think that's the 28 car. It may not have been. The 99 car is in contention with who? It was the 28 car, Terence Woodward.
So Woodward has certainly been right in the action to this point. Christophe Lapierre being shown as going slowly, so he may well have had a spin as well. Here's the 85, not leading the race anymore because the race leader just creeping through shot there. Andrew Bentley in the 42 is out front.
He's had a moment because his pace is still good, so he's had a moment. Andrew Bentley was creeping back towards him, but it was tenths and not seconds. So unseen by us, there has been an issue. A delay for Fabian Michel, 2 seconds now behind Andrew Bentley, leads the race in the 42, Stella Motorsport Duquesne. Still a Duquesne 1-2, but the cars in the opposing positions they were at the start of the race.
Lap 17 was a 1:46. He's back in the 1:41s now, but it was a 1:46. That was when the yellows were out, local yellows. 1:43, and then back on the pace again. So it's really only that 17th tour, which is about 3 or 4 seconds slower than we would normally expect. And here's Andrew Bentley for Stella Motorsport. So whether that was a mistake, I can't think that he was close enough. Ah, here we go. And we go safety car, but this is the replay of Andrew Bentley taking the race lead. We'd mentioned that the 4 seconds had become 3 seconds, 2 seconds, and then it's that classic draft on the main straight to give him the race lead.
But maybe it simply was just a couple of really pacey laps and a slower lap from the RAce GP car. So safety car is out, and GT Classic cars wrong way in recovery here. The only car we've got out there stopped is the A&S Motorsport car. Safety car is on track. I wonder if this is a clear-up.
Well, all of a sudden, Fabien Michel's very grateful that the safety car comes out, because the 2 seconds that had been built up by a real hard-charging Andrew Bentley is going to evaporate.
That's has got damage to the rear of that car, dragging the bullet. The Galaxy panel does not look right at that corner. And as that car got damage, you can certainly see the bodywork flapping around as well, but is there damage to the drivetrain at that corner as well?
Yeah, I was trying to work out whether the tyre had started to lose air there as well, so that was causing some of the bodywork to flap around. It's clearly made either contact with another car or perhaps been in the wall somewhere. Possibly that rear left is still inflated.
I'm not sure it's where it should be. I wonder if there might be some suspension damage to that car. We'll soon see, because if there is suspension damage, it'll be going no further.
It's certainly got tales to tell, that car.
Absolutely.
And George Nakas as well. He was going towards the wall at turn 5 on the opening lap after some contact, possibly with the 88 Ferrari. I don't think we've had a decision on that either way.
No, we haven't. We are very close. We'll be one safety car lap away from the end of required driver time for the starting drivers here. And remember, there is a bit, it's bare right at turn 9 is what's going on. So there's some kind of recovery work on at turn 9. We don't have noticed that the car stopped there.
No.
So that will be, I'm sure, debris or slippery surface, gravel, whatever it might be.
Well, that's where
the 73 car.
Drysoff had
I
a
think
spin,
that might be it.
as he brought some grass onto the road and then right onto the racing line, maybe. Brand new cheese wedge has been located, and the really difficult thing now is stringing that so it is safely attached. And they've got some other bits as well, maybe to cannibalise a few components into one. The key thing is that those two bullets, as we call them, they've both been damaged, haven't they?
Yeah, they have.
They carry the tail light of the car, but there's also some electronics and whatnot, gubbins in there, that's a technical term. And the scrutineer, when checking the car at the end of the race, wants to see that both of those cheese wedges behind each of the rear wheels is at least present. If it's raining, we're not likely to get rain today, but there's a rain light that pulses on the back of there as well.
So we've not seen what's going on at turn 9, but we did see the incident for Jörg Gleishoff, and what it did have was muck and dirt on both sides of the track. So you're coming over that blind crest, and there's he went off initially, didn't he, to the inside on the driver's right. There's dust and perhaps some gravel on that side at the point at which you are coming over the crest. If you go to avoid that, he's then rejoined from the other side where the car was partly on the grass. So there's likely to be muck and dirt on that side as well. So there's sort of no escape. And I wonder whether or not we've had a further incident there is why we've got the intervention from race control. Worth catching up just where we stand with things here. It is Stella Motorsport that lead this race, as we're now 1 minute away from the point where teams can choose to go through their routine pit stop. And why wouldn't they under a safety car? The Michelin Le Mans Cup pits are open under safety car. Stella Motorsport lead From championship leaders, R-Race GP, the 85 car of Fabien Michel. Tony Wells is up to a fine third for Nielsen Racing in the first of the Ligiers. It's 2 Ducanes that lead the race. High-class racing and the third of our championship contenders, albeit for the moment, mathematically, Jens Müller in the 20 car sits fourth from Adrian Schiller, the second of our championship contenders. So all three of them at the moment in the top 5. That car, the number 97, sits fifth, ahead of Jamie Falvey in the Breton Motorsport 26, Julien Lemoine in the A&S Motorsport number 84. Then it's the 62 Breton racing car, Ben Stone. Christophe Lapierre, the 10, sits ninth, but will need to spend 10 seconds longer on pit lane. And then rounding out the top 10 at the moment is the 13M racing car, Romano Ricci. In GT3, jetting up from the back of the grid, Kessel Racing were forced to use their professional driver, David Firminelli. He got to the lead on the first lap from the back of the grid before we came into safety car. The 12 car leads the race with a couple of LMP3 cars ahead of our championship winners last time out. It's Matt Kurzajewski in the 51 AF Corsa car. Celia Martin in a strong third place for the Iron Dames in the 83 Lamborghini. Then it's Castadio Toledo in the AF Corsa 88 Ferrari. James Swift in the mix in the Blackthorn number 90 Aston Martin. Andrew Gilbert in the Kessel Racing number 74. And behind, we've got a couple of cars that have had problems earlier in this race. The only car not running at present, only 2 cars not running at present, A&S Motorsports' Eric de Donker, the number 6 car, stopped out on circuit, bringing out a full course yellow a little while ago. That car is out of the race. But on pit lane, undergoing repairs to the rear of the car is the 58 GG Classics Ligier of George Nakas. We have 36 cars running competitively, Johnny Palmer.
Lap 22, second safety car though of the race, and a 5-minute full course yellow as well. So it's been tricky to navigate your way through this, and particularly if you maybe didn't qualify well, there will have been some overnight thinking from a strategy perspective. How can we improve our place? But this just doesn't help, because no overtaking clearly in each of these segments. And for the first 46 minutes now, a lot of it has been neutralised. But are we going to get this wave of cars into pit lane now? 42's not appeared at the end of the start-finish straight. Surely, is that going to come in? Oh, we've got to wait a bit longer. They're just heading now through Galp, but many of these cars are staying right.
This is brilliant news for high-class racing. All of this is throwing this race up in the air. That's one bit of misfortune for either or both of the other 2 cars, and they could come through with a trouble-free and a rapid run. With Jens Müller getting out now, Tommy Foster about to join the race. This could be absolutely massive for them.
Andrew Bentley stayed out, interestingly. So did Jamie Falvey. He's one of the cars that's going to spend quite a bit longer on pit road than many of the others, but not as long as Fabien Michel. It's going to be about 3.5 minutes before we see the 85 R-Race GP car reappear. But
he's able to do it under a safety car, which is massive for him. So if the timing is correct here, he'll simply join the back of the queue. But there will be a lot of cars between him and where he needs to be.
Well, that's the worry, is he actually going to drop behind more cars than he would have done under the green?
It's less bad news, though, in terms of the actual...
Because they're all very close to one another. Yeah, there's positives and negatives. It'll be Adrian David who will have to power his way back up, of course. This is a pit stop that can be done pretty leisurely, although they're still getting a hurry up. And it's crucial to have timed how long it takes to come from pit entry and that white line where the 60 kph speed limit kicks in to your pit stall, and then most importantly how long it takes to leave the pit stall and exit the pits, and all that calculation is done right at the early part of the week.
The one car that, by the way, left the pits in that flurry was the 58 car of GG Classics, and interestingly, George Nakas has stayed at the wheel even though he could have got out at that point.
Yeah, good point, yeah. And hand over to his teammate Fraser Ross, 2 Australians for the Australian team, GG Classics. So we've got 4 cars, well, 5 cars if you include the GG Classics of George Nakas, but 4 at the sharp end that have elected not to pit. Andrew Bentley for Stella, number 42, Jamie Falvey's 26 Breton, Christophe Lapierre in the Racing Spirit of Le Mans number 10, and the 13 car of M Racing Romano Ricci.
I wonder if they've got a broken curb here.
I was beginning to think that. So everybody being told to stay to the right to avoid the curb, and has it all stemmed from this unusual spin for Jörg Dreishoff? I've no idea why he's that far right on the road as he arrives, and has actually this spin severely damaged that little red strip of painted concrete. It's not a proper curb, is it? But it might be that the concrete has broken up now and caused a real problem.
Did look as if those two intervention vehicles were in the process of leaving that site. So at the moment, of this 38-car field, one retirement, the number 6 car, 5 cars currently out on track, and the rest of them about to rejoin. It's going to get very busy at pit exit here.
And very easy as well for the lollipop to be lifted and an unsafe release into the path of so many cars that are trying to get to the fast lane and exit onto the main racetrack. Hearing about the 34 car needing a bullet change though as well from the rear of that car. 34 Alexander Bukantsov, which has certainly been grabbing quite a lot of footage time in the opening 45 minutes or so. It'll be Rick Cohn, the Dutchman, to take over from Alexander Bukantsov.
And the red light's on.
And that's because the safety car is coming through and has just crossed the safety car line. So what is that going to do to the GT lead? How many GTs have rejoined? Fred Jose has, but nobody else can go back into the race just yet. So the next car is Matthew Kurzajewski, but being told to wait.
Well, there's going to be interesting to see what Gwen Boursier does about that, because that effectively gives the race leader a lap at the moment.
So he's going to be behind.
He's ahead of the safety car. So he's going to rejoin the back of the safety car queue.
Yeah. He got out before the safety car came around. Everybody else is going to be locked into position. And who is immediately behind the safety car is the next question. Well, it's actually the 51 Ferrari. So that there's opportunity here to wave that group of GT3s through, as long as whoever emerges as the race leader is then picked up by the safety car. So to reset the field might be fairly easy, but that's a decision to be made once these pit stops have been completed.
This is the leading 4 cars behind the safety car, including Stella Motorsports' Andrew Bentley, Jamie Falvey, Christophe Lapierre, who's got that 10-second penalty to go, so he'll be last out from this group. But the undelayed cars, High Class Racing, have done well there, but Cool Racing sit behind the High Class car and will run 2nd place in this race. That's really good news for the 97 car, because way further down the order is the RHGP car. At the moment, it will shuffle around here. They're down in 29th place. I don't think that will emerge as being the final running order, but they've got a long way to come and a long points gap to start to pick off there to get back into contention with that pit stop handicap. This at the moment has gone all the way, the pendulum has slung all the way towards the Cool Racing squad.
Yeah, 97, David Drew is tucked in behind Tommy Foster, who leads the race in the number 20 car, which also has a chance of taking the championship title, but very, very tricky for actually that scenario to unfold. Fabien Michel, very, very happy with his 47 minutes work in the opening stages in car number 85, high-fiving the rest of the RHGP team. Now Adrien David taking over that car. Adrien David, though, is quite a long way back because of the reasons we have detailed. So earlier this morning, we got underway with the finale of the Michelin Le Mans Cup. LMP3 still to be decided between 3 teams. The GT3s, champions already, Alessandro Balzan and Matt Kurzajewski, but it's interesting for the scrap for 2nd and beyond still in that championship. A clean start, although one of the Team Virage cars massively locked up into turn 3. And thankfully those cars that were caught out by that didn't run in the back of that car that just slightly misjudged the entry into turn 3. Unfortunately, incidents didn't take too long, though, to start to unfold. George Nakas in the 58 GT Classics car spinning at turn 5. Stefan Aust in his Rinaldi car in the gravel at turn 11, Portimão. And then for the Hegeli by T2 Racing car and Pieter de Curtens, a puncture, possibly as a result of contact, maybe just a tyre that went down. And then this nerf out of the way for the number 97 car, and that was the 34 of Alexander Bukantsov, who was partly in the way, but won't have been pleased at all with the treatment from number 97, Adrian Schiller. Good dicing early on in the GT3. Cecilia Martin applied the pressure on James Swift's Aston Martin. But David Fuminelli, who'd been the only gold to start in GT3, he was forced to, as per the regulations, absolutely romped to the lead and began to open up something like an 18-second gap on the rest of the GT3 runners. A neat overtake there from the number 2 CD Sport car, and then this very unusual spin approaching turn 9 from an unconventional angle, I think it's fair to say. Jorg Dreishoff spinning and maybe doing damage to the curb at the left-hander known as Craig Jones, named after the motorcycle racer we lost in 2008 with strong Portuguese ties. Side by side with Bukantsov's car there as well. And then we hit the phase for the pit stops, but not before there was a spin for the 29 of Terence Woodward, right at the first corner, and another very vulnerable place for that car to be sitting. Actually, that was Jacek Zilonka. Terence Woodward also would have a moment in the fellow MV2S racing car. We missed this overtake initially, but Andrew Bentley got a very good run on the 85 of Fabian Michel. Start-finish line, down the inside, and the 42 that had been increasing its pace for the last few laps got ahead of RHGP. By no means a disaster at that stage. Another spin for George Nakas in the 58 car, by the way. But here's David Fuminelli. The car is now being driven by Fred Jose, and it remains to be seen how much of a lead that Ferrari has. The 42 car now being driven by its teammate driver, though, as well. Not leading the race anymore, was doing into the pit stop phase. Senan Fielding is now at the wheel of that car.
Yeah, but it was a mistake for Stella to keep that car out, because they've re-emerged from the lead on the safety car. They've now re-emerged in 17th place. So that did not work out well for the previously race-leading crew. It worked out brilliantly well for high-class racing. They've done all they can do to give Tommy Foster the opportunity to attack this race and attack this championship run. He leads the race. He's not in the lead in this queue. It's a bit messy under safety car here. David Druva, Cool Racing, at the moment, he's right behind Tommy Foster in that queue. And at the moment, frankly, he's in the driving seat, pretty literally, for this championship, because where are RHGP? 26th place, Johnny.
Yeah.
Behind the entire competitive GT3 field.
Yeah. It becomes an absolute horror show for them, as good as Adrian David is. The problem is he's going to have to overtake all of the silvers and golds. So he'll make a bit of progress, but precisely how much remains to be seen.
Well, I think he can certainly make progress up into the teens in terms of places reasonably quickly. We've got under an hour to go, remember, but after that it's going to get progressively more difficult. We could be looking at a last dash points chase here. But I think he's going to have to get up towards podium positions to get that championship in this stage. If David Drew has a incident-free remainder of this race, what am I saying? Then the pressure is massively on RHGP to go and grab this. Well,
if Cool Racing, for instance, stay in second position, they'll move from 61.5 to 79.5 points. So you're looking at RHGP with 68 points, needing 4th place in that scenario.
Yeah.
And they would win, if they got to 4th and the Cool Racing 97 stayed second, they would win by half a point.
Now, I've been just examining the kind of points positions. I'm not sure if you've repeated what we've heard from Steve Wentworth. 1 second, safety car is coming in.
This lap, no overtake before the line.
Major problems for the 59 team, Viraj Karlovska-Bitar. That car will not restart after its pit stop. So they're trying to start the car. It just is not responding to it. It's a disaster for the 59 crew, I'm afraid.
Close these gaps, 5 cars lengths maximum.
Here we go then. A no high-class racing lead the race with Tommy Foster, but because the Cool Racing car is in second, that's still not enough for high-class racing, and they're very
Green
much
flag,
outside
green
chance
flag.
of taking
No
the title here in
overtaking before the line.
Portimão. So, a massive swing of the pendulum. We said that Portimão would throw something highly unusual at us, and that is precisely what has happened. The 85 crew have had some dips in form through the course of the year. Started very well with a couple of podiums, but then a non-point score in the first Road to Le Mans race, and they were well in the top 10 in the second race of that, but the Spa non-finish has proved very costly. The win at Mugello last time out for the 85 crew got their championship back on track, but that's the current point.
It's significantly worse than the RSGP car. There it is. It's only just ahead of the race leader. It's a lap down. It's got the entire gap to make up. It's not just places, it's where it is in the queue.
Yeah.
It's almost a full lap down.
Right, so a whole lap, which is, what, 4.6 kilometres around here?
Absolutely. Without a fortuitous placing of a safety car at this point, it's pretty much impossible.
And this is down to that extra time that needed to be spent in the pit lane, and then was it in the queue for those cars wanting to get out of pit lane when the red light came on?
Yeah, there is one more thing to chuck into this, and you know what, Johnny? I'm not counting high class out of this, because the one thing we'd forgotten is there's still an investigation underway into the collision at turn 5, and which car was involved in that. 97,
Adrian Schiller at the time, and that car now being driven by David Drew, and he's now lost places at the restart, so down to 5th for the 97 car. That's only 10 points being scored. Still enough, he says. I'm going to have to go back to the abacus here, but yes, during the highlights package, I had remembered that the 97 car has potentially a penalty, and that was after the bit of a headbutt from Adrian Schiller on the rear of Alexander Bukantsov's car.
High class could do this.
Well, we said they could. Mathematically, they were never out of it, and this is not a first at Portimão, where the most unusual set of results could quite possibly go the way of the race leaders. They can begin to boss this race now, dictate the pace. Tommy Foster's only 0.2 of a second ahead of Wayne Boyd, though, so he's got massive pressure on his shoulders as the RSGP car, driven by Adrian David. How busy is it here at the 5th corner? Tora Vid. David to the inside line, as now there's a hip and shoulder check between the Team Tour entry, which, hit onto the Porsche of Sven Muller. And that was the pincer movement between the 7 on one side and the 77 on the other. So Wayne Boyd and Colin Noble made no room for the Porsche, and that Porsche's now almost losing its front right fender. It's hanging on by a thin wire. The 97 car of Adrian Schiller is going to be given a 10-second time penalty to the race and 1 point on the licence. It's slipped to 6th at the moment. Is that going to mean that it doesn't actually finish in the top 10?
Well, this is where pace is going to matter, isn't it? Now he knows what the scale of the task is. He can't afford to lose those places. His pace should be pretty good at this stage, so that's better than it could have been. That could have been a drive-through penalty for them, but it would have been a bigger loss. This is frenetic stuff, though, up and down this field.
Colin Noble now leads the race. He's got ahead of Tommy Foster, so no longer a high-class racing, scoring 25. In fact, it's got worse. Wayne Boyd descending on the scene as well. So Noble leads for Team Tour, number 77, and Boyd's going to think about a move on the inside at turn 1. He can't get through, though, there. And the 4th LMP3 car in that sequence is the 3rd place of Tommy Foster.
This is going to go to the wire. And I think it's lost the bonnet of that. No, it's not. Sorry, my apologies. Just the rear, the right side wing has gone on that car.
But it's now fully detached, and that's done a favour for Sven Muller. However, where has it landed? Is it on the racetrack somewhere and causing a problem? 43, which is the other Inter-Europol competition car. We haven't talked a great deal about that, but that's Sebastian Grauland. And the sister Europol car, Rick Cohn, sadly for him, all the way down in 25th position.
So, in terms of race positions, Adrian David is now up into 19th place, but realistically, There's only one more to gain with the 51 car directly ahead of him on track, and I'm sure that won't be long. And then he's at the front of that queue. Then he's got effectively the entire lap to make up.
Meanwhile, high-class racing scoring no longer 25, but provisionally 15 points. So that'll take them to 61, and Cool Racing began the race with 61.5. So
Johnny,
not enough at this stage.
Technically, at this stage, this championship could be decided by a late safety car. Because if we get a late safety car, that 10 seconds for Cool Racing could cost them multiple positions.
I'm not sure Sven Muller could have done a great deal about that contact. As I say, it was Colin Noble on one side, it was Wayne Boyd on the other in very similarly liveried cars. Foster down the inside to clear the traffic. The CD Sport car's not on the lead lap in the Dayglow yellow and red, and that will give Tommy Foster clear line of sight-ish to the two race leaders who are working their way through turn 3. They're nuisance leaders as far as high class are concerned. They won't be too bothered about them winning the race, but they're taking the positions away from the Danish squad.
And by the way, don't count out, there's a mighty advantage in GT3 being given to Kessel Racing just by the timing of that safety car, with everybody else effectively losing more or less a lap. But the pace of Alessandro Balzan right now, with 45 minutes remaining, needs to be watched because, of course, he's against the bronze driver.
Yes. Yeah, so Fred Jose, OK, he's leading by a minute and a half, more than that, in fact.
But he's lost 4 seconds on the last lap.
Compared to Balzan.
Yeah. So Team Tour lead the race in the hands of Colin Noble. Under a second ahead, it was a big hit. Which car hit him?
The one on the right-hand side, which I think was 77, because Colin Noble now leads and he was marginally ahead. But I'd have to investigate that again. Now a spin for the 11 CD Sport car, and almost in sympathy of the, was that the Moore Motorsport car just up ahead? Frank Chapard with the mistake. Sorry, you were saying?
Yeah, just about to say, Adrian David putting in the fastest lap of the race, under 140 for the first time. 18th place is as good as it gets at the moment. He's now going to try and close almost, it's 3/4 of a lap to get into a position to be able to take the next slot, and that would be the number 12 car. Give you an idea what that looks like. 85 coming through turn 4. The 12 is leaving turn 14.
Yeah. Adrian Davis just set the fastest lap of the race, though, so he's certainly not hanging around.
Car 66, by the way, from Aldi Racing, White Brigachek's car, will be getting a 10-second time penalty added to his race time past the red light at pit lane. So he was, that was the car that blew the red light that the GT3 cars stopped at. This is fast and furious stuff. Iron Dames, 4th place, side by side with the car that lost the lap. Max Meyer, by the way, is on pit lane in the number 29 MV2S car. That car clearly with a problem.
30 laps done, only half a second for Colin Noble, ahead of Wayne Boyd. Tommy Foster's 2.1 behind, but there's traffic between the nose of the high-class racing car and the tail of Wayne Boyd's entry. Theodore Jensen for Breton Racing running in 4th in number 62. Now Karen Gaillard trying to position her Lamborghini to stay out of trouble as much as possible. She's running 4th in the GT3s, behind 2 AF Corsa Ferraris and the race-leading Kessel car of Fred Jose.
There's a brush between the front of the 67 car and the rear of one of the Blackthorn Aston Martins, with carbon fibre flying.
David Drew's fallen back to 6th again now, so he makes a bit of progress to 5th. But now Adrian Crossmanil has got ahead in the team car. Hopefully they're being as sensible as possible. Don't hit your teammate. And if it came to it, Crossmanil, I suppose, could make way for David Drew. And they'll switch those positions later on if they need those points. But at the moment, in the current scenario, they shouldn't do.
Every move, every potential penalty, everything being scrutinised by all 3 championship contenders here. There's so many moving pieces on this board. I genuinely don't think this is going to be sorted until the last few laps.
So often we've said that through the course of the year. Very, very wide for the Hegeli by T2 racing car.
Actually took the position off track.
Yes, to move ahead of one of the GT3s. Now a spin for car 27 at turn 4, but it's going again. So So hopefully we can avoid another neutralisation. Sven Muller, if anything's going perhaps a bit faster now that the car's a touch lighter. So the 18 car of Muller on the back of Ross Kaiser. No, in fact, that's the 91 Aston Martin. So not Kaiser who drives the 9-0. 91 has just been... Oh, no, David McDonald, I reckon, has just got ahead of Muller. And maybe the Mark Carroll car as well. So they go through. Yeah, McDonald now up to 7th in GT3. Sven Muller down to 8th. And Mark Carroll Ibarra for Biogas Motorsport. An early spin for them in this race, but their Ferrari is still in the race and now running in 9th.
Keeping an eye on the gap for Adrian David. It is 1 minute and 32 seconds to the lead at the moment, and I'm going to be keeping an eye on that one as things roll out, because he is closing on cars ahead, working that gap. As I said before, the 12 car was at turn 14 when the 85 was at turn 4. He's at turn 6 while he's at turn 14 now. That gap coming down.
That was the spin for car 27. We caught the back end of at turn 4, and it did manage to rejoin after a short pause. So that was Lewis Hamilton Smith in the P4 racing car. Cool Racing, have they just switched those cars around?
There was a look up the inside, but not enough room for David Drew to do that. The 87 car, well, is he making this hard or easy? Are they going around in formation?
I'm sure those at Cool Racing will be fully on top of this. They won't like the two cars running in such close proximity. But David Drew's not going to... Well, why am I saying this? He's not going to do anything stupid. Let's hope he doesn't, because he doesn't need 5th place. 6th place is absolutely fine. Team Tour continue to lead as we head for the pit lane now, and Steph Wentworth.
Hello from the pit lane. It has been a crazy race on the track, and I am joined now by Maximus Meyer of the number 29 MV2S Racing. We've seen that unfortunately you've retired. This is not how you would have wanted to end the season. Tell us what happened.
Nah, it's definitely not the way we want to end it, for sure. I just went for lunch on the CD Sport car, which was there to have. But yeah, he obviously didn't see me, and there was another car on the outside, thinking more about the outside. So he just completely chopped across with me and broke the front wishbone. So yeah, a bit unlucky.
Unlucky, thank you.
No worries, thanks.
Well, all sorts of... So to reiterate where we are in championship positions right now. Up at the sharp end of the race, 3rd place for Tommy Foster. In trouble because, in positional terms, because of that pit stop handicap is the 85 car. That car now down in 17th place. And in trouble because of the penalty they've received, the 97 car that would have taken that opportunity of picking up those positions. There's 10 seconds penalty to be added to that car, which would drop it out of the top 10.
Yeah.
So as things stand, sort of right now, if the 97 drops out of the top 10 with a 10-second penalty, the 20 would finish on something like 61 points. The 85 would still win the title.
Yeah.
So 2 or 3 things have to happen here. The first of them is the 20 needs to get back to the lead of this race. That would then make things very interesting indeed.
Because if the 20 wins the race and gets the maximum points, is that going to be enough, though, to leapfrog?
Well, the other 2 would not score.
Yeah.
So the answer is yes.
So, yeah, indeed. So that the top 2, as in 85 and 97, there is a potential here for both cars to get a big fat 0, because they're not in the top 10, and High Class Racing would leapfrog the 2 of them. However, Wayne Boyd and Colin Noble are working together quite well and continuing to open the gap. Tommy Foster last time around was the slowest of those 3 leading cars.
So remember, it was 1:32 for RSGP, the gap to the overall leader. What is it going to be this time around? Well, Colin Noble's going quicker at the moment than Adrian David, but it's less that, thinking about it, Johnny, and more to do with the 10th place car, isn't it? That's where the points start to come in. So the gap to 10th place is about 1 minute and 10 seconds.
Okay. But that's why I'm wondering why. Oh, now David Drew is ahead of Klossmany. I know they're independently run cars and financed in different ways, but surely it makes sense for David Drew to not be held up by Klossmany anymore.
It's time.
He's trying to build a gap. Exactly.
It's not about positions at this point. It's time. He has to build the gap to whoever's behind him in a position to take that title from him. That's the RSGP car. It's that 10 seconds that's the critical point for the 97 car.
Yeah, but I don't think Klossmany's going fast enough for him to build that gap. So better that he, whether that was a mistake from Klossmany or whether it was a bit of team orders, so to speak, maybe we'll never know. Now there's been a mistake for Fred Jose.
That's the leader.
Leading in GT3. It's happened at turn 13. He still is the race leader. But we'd already mentioned that Alexander Balzan had been closing in, and that gap has suddenly, well, certainly lessened considerably from the minute and a half that it was.
Well, I'll keep an eye on what that gap is going to be. And the answer is...
And he lost about 30 seconds on that lap. It was a 2:08.
52 seconds.
From the 1 minute and 30
Correct.
that it was before.
It's, coming
so
down rapidly. And of course, that's a big chunk.
At the head of the order, now Colin Noble enjoys a 1 second lead over Wayne Boyd. 2.7 back to Tommy Foster. Tommy needing more points than he has at the moment, though, for this unusual scenario. Second place isn't enough because it wouldn't leapfrog the 20 car above what the RSGP has already scored. And it's going to be tough for the 85 to actually score any points at all. 17th position for Adrian David, just a couple of seconds away from the rejoining Frederic Jose in his number 12 Ferrari after that error.
It's going to be tough if the race stays green. It's going to be tough to get any further than 16th for the RSGP. In fact, RSGP has passed Kessel Racing into 16th place. The gap to the next car ahead is still almost a minute.
And if we get another, let's say, safety car, because the full course yellow doesn't really change the complexion of the race, that might help 85. It certainly doesn't help David Drew.
A safety car at this point would be massive for RSGP and disastrous for Cool Racing.
Because it bumps everybody together behind 5th position.
Which means a 10-second penalty is that much more damaging.
So 10 seconds at the moment, back from David Drew, is 11th position, I make it. And that is literally just adding 10 seconds to the race time. It doesn't incorporate a visit to the pit lane, which ordinarily it might have done. So they've decided that that contact should have been probably adding 10 seconds to the next pit stop, but the next pit stop had already happened by that point. What happened a few moments ago between the 74 Ferrari of Fran Reda and the Uber Motorsport Porsche, now being driven by Manuel Lauch. That's the final GT3 car in the order after that spin, which did a bit of damage, we think, to the curbing at turn 9 when Jörg Dreishoff was at the wheel of that car. And also quite a bit of debris being kicked up from the curb side on the exit of turn 5, Tora Vip now as well. Those little shards could be very costly if you hoover one of them up into the innards of the car or indeed a tyre. So we want to try and avoid the curb on the exit of turn 5 if possible.
So the next thing that comes into the mix here in this lead battle, Colin Noble fending off Wayne Boyd. He's right with him, by the way, as up the inside goes Sven Muller in the 18 car, the war-wounded high-class racing car. Up the inside of the number 90 Aston Martin is tyre life. How hard have they had to push? Noble and Boyd from Tommy Foster. David Drew, 5th place.
We have a message at the bottom of the screen now regarding Colin Noble's car. It was indeed he that hit the side of Sven Muller in number 18. It says Moller on the screen, but it's Sven Muller. That incident's going to be investigated after the race. So Colin Noble might receive a penalty for causing a collision. It was a big whack to Sven Muller's Porsche. and the pincer movement that we talked about at the time.
So Foster has to win the title,
Yes,
correct?
yes. That does elevate, depending on how big a penalty that Colin Noble may or may not incur, that might elevate David Drew a few more positions, I suppose. However, Team Tour, it's going well so far for the 77 car, so time to catch up with Colin Noble's teammate, with Steph.
I'm joined in the pit lane by a beautiful couple here. I have Auden Goodmanson of the number 77 Team Tour and his lovely wife. Auden, it's a high-pressure situation right now. We're all talking about what's going on in the championship, but for you guys, it would be amazing to win this race, win the final season finale.
Totally. When I wake up this morning, you know, I did not expect this. This was totally unexpected and very emotional.
And Colin has done a great job. I mean, fending off everyone behind him right now. He's doing fantastically in the car.
Could not hear you.
Colin, he's doing great in the car right now.
Like always, you know, he is the best on the track.
And how proud are you, having watched him race all season?
I'm very proud, yeah. It's been fun. This is our last race, last championship. So we are emotional. Yeah.
And we want to go out with a bang. It's going to be incredible. Fingers crossed for you. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Well, Steph Wentworth electing not to mention the potential looking at that incident because it would be a dream scenario. I didn't know that they'd made that announcement, but
Well,
Goodmanson.
he did tell me in the paddock a couple of days ago it was his announcement to make rather than my news to print. And we'll miss him, our Icelandic warrior, the man that doesn't have a water feature in the back garden but has a volcano instead. So it will be the end of Team Tour, this transition into a new era of both LMP3 and the Michelin Le Mans Cup with a new class coming. So we are going to see a change of the guard. We've got a full course yellow coming.
We have, because of the slippery surface at turn 10 and 11, potentially.
And one with at 5 removed. Same again then, turn 10, 11.
That was turn 9 before.
Oh, of course it was.
So 10-11, the Portimão sequence of corners. Everybody restricted to 80 kilometres per hour. Once again, lap 39. And there are just under 30 minutes of this race still to go. Colin Noble on course for a victory, but with a smallish cloud hovering above Team Tour's car because of the investigation post-race. After that contact was made between 77 and the 18 high-class racing Porsche of, at the time, Sven Müller. Nielsen Racing's Wayne Boyd should remain the same distance behind Colin at the restart.
Yes and no. It depends on where and when that full course yellow comes out. If you're in a corner that is already at and around that 80 kilometres an hour, there are slings and arrows of outrageous fortune that can come there. But there are winners and losers as you come into and out of a full course yellow, and that's just luck.
Yeah. Well, I think it's massively luck about how the race has panned out to this point, because RHGP seemingly have done nothing wrong, but they pitted when the safety car was coming around. That is the remains of a bullet that's ended up in the middle of the road. That's not turn 10 and 11 though, that's Tora Vip. The marshal on a relatively warm day, having to cover some distance, and yes, an awful lot of detritus on the exit of turn 5. They're going to try and recover. However, the race leader has just descended on the scene now.
Yep.
Don't want to be in the way of a car doing 80 clicks.
So Colin Noble leads Wayne Boyd, Team Tour from Nielsen Racing, high-class racing in title contention but need the win. Tommy Foster is in what looks to me to be marginally but increasingly distant third place. David Drew in the 97 car, second place in the championship coming into this race, sits fourth, but with a 10-second penalty to add to his race time, and that will drop him down the order. The other title contender is RHGP, Adrian David, but with a pit stop handicap of 42 seconds added in there, he sits down in 16th place with no points to come unless he can make further progress. This is going to be an interesting game of automotive chess with the usual madness to be thrown at this race, as it always seems to be. In GT3, title already went to the car that's currently sitting second. Last time out, that's the 51 car of Matt Kurzajewski and Alessandro Balzan, who's at the wheel of the 51 car. The leader of the race is the 12 Kessel racing car, Fred Jousset, aboard that car. David Fumanelli forced to start the car, the pro driver, after an incident for Fred Jousset in qualifying. And then the 12 car gifted a big lead with the timing of the safety car and the pit lane being closed and trapping the rest of the GT3 field. Alessandro Balzan is working that enigma. We go back to green flag racing, but he's got a long way to go to catch up Fred Jousset. It is a Ferrari 1, 2, 3, 4, with the second AF Corsa car of Riccardo Agostini third, and Kessel Racing second car with Frank Rader fourth, before we get to the damaged Sven Müller high-class racing car, number 18, and that car suffered damage from contact with the race leader, and that will be investigated after the race. Does that bring us sort of up to date?
I think so. You've done a cracking job there and timed it neatly with the green flag being waved as well. Here are the race leaders, not involved in the championship, but it would be quite some story in Auden Gudmundsson's final race in the Michelin Le Mans Cup to go out on a high. Colin Noble doing a good job in fending off Wayne Boyd, although that gap's come down, hasn't it? Maybe that was a result of the fluctuations in a full course yellow.
It's been down to as little as 0.2 of a second, so the two of them are doing what they've done since the pair of them came together, often quite literally, in LMP3. These have been two of the absolute battlers in the last half a decade and more. So Colin Noble from Wayne Boyd, Tommy Foster 4.5 seconds back. He's the big loser there, coming out of that full course yellow period. So the high-class racing car with work to do here needs to win the race. Here's our second title contender. There's trouble for the number 13 car. That's the M Racing car. Alexandre Coignot. That's exit at turn 5, and that car has not got moving. Could this be a safety car?
It's the exit at Tora Vip.
Could this be a safety car?
Very close.
That will make life very interesting. Now that was all by himself, I think. Yes, it was. Spun to the inside, managed to get back to the outside, but the car has stalled again.
And
oh no, he's got it going. So yellow's still at turn 5.
The worry is the proximity of the car to the curbing on driver's right there. We may be able to recover that under a full course yellow, but they're giving the car in question ample opportunity to rejoin again. So Alex Cugnot, who thought they might have won at Spa-Francorchamps a few months ago, then there was a post-race penalty in Belgium which took that race win away, and they fell down a considerable number of places in that particular race. They would have been right up there in the championship had that not happened. A bizarre scenario where a car that had elected to not take a penalty, the 67 Hegeli by T2 Racing car, stayed as the race leader, even though they'd not served enough time in the mandatory pit stop. 22.5 minutes still to go. A safety car at this point would be horrendous for 97 crew. That would put pay to any slim hope they've got of finishing in the positions they require. Up to 4th place though now, I noticed, David Drew. So both the Cool Racing cars have got ahead of the Breton Racing of Theodore Jensen.
Full course yellow is going to come for recovery of that. That's probably because there is an opportunity to snatch that car quickly to the rear.
We will be deploying full course yellow in 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Full course yellow is deployed. Full course yellow is deployed. Car 13, we will take you behind the tire wall.
So chosen to deploy full course yellow, not
all cars to bear left. Turn 5, all cars to bear left.
Not to deploy the safety car, so that has not worked for RSGP. It has worked, and there's a big moment there under braking to get into the full course yellow from the two leading cars. David Drew and their title hopes live again here. It's a 21 minutes to go, Johnny. And it's running out of time for the 85 car to make a difference. What we are, I think, going to see when we get back to green flag racing is a change in the lead for GT3, because with that significant off earlier for Fred Jousset, Alessandro Balzan is within 10 seconds of that car.
I'm trying to work out how far down the order David Drew could fall, but also by getting enough points to win the title. And I reckon I think he can get away with 6th place. This is a replay of what happened to Alexandre Cugnot from the exit of Tora VIP. So you get 6 points for 7th place.
So his gap at the moment in points is what?
Hang on a moment. The gap currently is 6.5 points. So 6 points isn't enough. 8 points is. You get 8 points for 6th position.
So 6th position
So
will win them the
top
title
6.
at the moment.
Yeah. And OK, David Drew is 4th, but we're also trying to take into account this 10-second penalty that will be added to the race time at the end of the event and drop it down to probably 10th at this stage.
Asked clearly all cars to bear left T5.
Even more remarkably, and I'll chuck this in for good measure, we don't yet know what the decision is going to be about the lead car and that contact. Could we have a title settled in the stewards' room?
Left T5. If you can't make the turn at 80 kph with bearing left, bear left all the way from entry to exit. Apex on the left-hand side and stay left. Bear left, we have marshals and telehandler exposed.
I think that was part of the concern about the rejig of this weekend, in actual fact, is that some decisions may need to be made after the race, and whereas before it's been a Sunday race for the European Le Mans Series and indeed the Michelin Le Mans Cup with the award ceremony in the evening, this way of running the weekend does at least provide those decisions to be made late into the night if necessary, tonight, with the awards still tomorrow evening.
Exit T5, bear left.
So it's going to be a little while before that work on the exit of Tora VIP is completed. So maybe another 5 minutes or so. That will leave us with a little more than 10 minutes of racing still to go. And this again is taking any opportunity for David Drew to close the gap on Tommy Foster, but it is considerable. He has Adrian Klosmany right with him in the second of the Cool Racing cars.
Reminder, T5 exit bear left, we have marshals and recovery vehicles exposed.
So again, more bits of LMP3 or GT3 car. Have bits of debris. You could probably build your own Ligier at some point. That might be something for next year. Maybe the Portimão Marshals Ligier Special.
Imagine the high point of suddenly descending on a scene and going, I've got that part. That completes the model. Amazing. Been spending the last few seasons trying to get all the integral bits of a Ligier or Duquesne.
It's like the infamous trick that was played by the Williams Renault mechanics on Jason Plato in his first season in British touring cars, where they gathered all the damaged parts from a Renault Laguna and hired a crane, and whilst he was on holiday, craned the damaged car into his garden. That stayed there for quite some time.
Wow. Impressive stuff, and quite a bit of logistics involved as well to time it whilst he wasn't in.
No further action. Colin Noble and Sven Muller, so they've played catch-up. Oh, no, that's Muller, not Muller.
No, but it is the 18 car.
18, right, sorry. Right, so it's not Jens Muller, it's Sven Muller.
It's definitely Sven Muller.
So we are looking at the potential race finishing order here. This is a real race and will not be decided at this stage in the stewards' room. So Colin Noble leads.
We will be removing full course yellow at 12:04. In 30 seconds, we will be removing full course yellow.
Game on.
You can now use the right-hand side
also
of the
that
track.
the MV2S
T5.
Racing 29 LMP3 car has been fixed, and it returns to the racetrack with Max Meyer at the wheel.
10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Full co-silo is now removed.
And it also means that this dream situation of Auden Gudmundsen's final race could be a win in the Michelin Le Mans Cup. What a way to go out. But however, Wayne Boyd is desperate to try and stop that happening and will draw level with Colin Noble as they head down the start and finish straight. It's been a better start for the Ulsterman. Can he outbrake the Scot into turn one? No, Colin Noble's not going to allow that to happen. I think they get on pretty well, these two, away from the racetrack, but all the talking is done once the visor is lowered, and it's tough to pick the quickest of these two.
Well, last lap here could be interesting, couldn't it? It could be the final race for the 77, or the 77 car. We've heard it's the final race for. It could be the final race for this number 7 effort as well, and they're both going to want to finish that on the top step of the podium. Post-race interviews for Steph could be quite interesting here.
So that was the other halves of the two drivers, if you like. Auden Gudmundsen's wife, Colin Noble's girlfriend. And the two of them just almost could not look as the Wayne Boyd car got level, marginally ahead, but wasn't able to pick off the place. And now Colin Noble's got himself in the groove and begun to build the gap on Boyd. Oh, Boyd hit the curb, that's why. So had to address that situation with lots of corrective steering. The Iceman, though, he could just stand there and watch this, no trouble at all, without even a flinch.
David McDonald and excuse me, it's the biogas Ferrari that we saw have a moment earlier. This pair battling for 8th position, but the lead battle is nose to tail now. The 12 car's been caught by the 51. Alessandra Balzan, with a bit of help from a bit of a whoopsie from Fred Jousset, is about to take the lead here, and it looks to me as if the 51 AF Corsa car might well finish their championship winning season with another win.
Here's the 34 Inter-Europol competition car of Rick Cohn. Marius Fossar not that far behind, 1.9 seconds for Racing Spirit of Le Mans.
Yeah, they're not in championship contention in the Michelin Le Mans Cup, but they are in the European Le Mans Series and stand at with the possibility of an astonishing performance, winning with PR1 Madsen Motorsport the IMSA LMP2 title last weekend. Could they win titles within a week on both sides of the Atlantic?
The gap at the moment, back to Theodor Jensen in 6th for David Drew, is 6 seconds. And he's looking to try and extend that on Theodor Jensen as much as possible. Because as we've said, 6th place will do it, 7th place not.
There's Alessandra Balzan in the lead now of GT3. And Fred Jousset under pressure now from the 2nd AF Corsa car for 2nd position in GT3. And that's actually changed. It is now 1-2. Riccardo Agostini has managed to pass the gentleman driver.
Because Jousset wanted the inside line, but there was an LMP3 car there, so swooping around the outside went Balzan to take the GT3 race lead at the top of the hill.
Keeping an eye on just exactly where things are for Adrian David. The gap is 36 seconds to 15th place. It's not doable on pace, is it?
He's trying his best, but he's got wedged in the midfield. And yeah, that 36-second now to a pretty hard-charging Frank Chapard looks really tricky to close down, and that's just the start of it then. He needs to be heading further up the order and towards the points. May still not be necessary, purely because high-class racing are not leading the event. Colin Noble is, and he appears to be in the clear regarding that penalty at turn 6, when there was contact between his 77 Tour, LMP3 Ligier, and the Sven Muller Porsche from high-class racing. So Iceland and Denmark clashing as far as how the teams are flagged. But now Colin Noble establishing himself into a 1-second lead. Wayne Boyd, well, still finding speed. They've both done their own personal best lap times on lap 46. We're now working lap 47. but down into the 139s for both of the race leaders. Tommy Foster can't quite get there though, mid 140s for him. And still staring at a 5-second deficit to Wayne Boyd. It's 6 seconds therefore to Colin Noble. The gap's now, I was about to say 8 seconds, it was briefly 8 seconds. It's about 7 seconds, David Drew to Theodore Jensen now. So he's trying to, again, extend that gap. Remember, if the 97 car finishes 6th, that will be enough to leapfrog the RSGP car, and you're all screaming at me going, well, 6th, he's 4th. Well, no, there's a 10-second penalty hanging over the 97 car, which would drop it to, well, at the moment,
that's the graphic.
Position.
It's almost 7 seconds, so he's got to keep this pace up and hope that Theodore Jensen doesn't increase his pace. That's the critical point. This is the title-winning gap at the moment, and it's a bizarre one, isn't it? It's bizarre that what we're looking at here is the gap from 4th to 6th place to decide this championship, Johnny Palmer.
I just want to make sure that I'm reading that correctly. He would drop to
10 seconds would drop him to 6th place right now.
Yeah. No, I think that's okay. So we're in the scenario now with the graphic being shown about Sebastian Grauland. He's 11 seconds distant. So David Drew would drop only to 6th place, and that is okay by our calculations.
So the bad news for David Drew is that Sebastian Grauland is putting in fastest laps of the race for that car. The good news for David Drew is so is David Drew, and he's quicker. So we're going to keep an eye on that gap from the 4th place to 7th place. So into the final 10 minutes. Recovery drive, by the way, for the 42 car that led the race, remember, and is Senham Fielding about to get back into the top 10. It's been quite some chase back from them. So there's time and points to be made. I think he has just done that. He's gone by, look of things, by Max van der Snel. This is the Wounded Warrior, number 18. Sven Muller trying to get onto terms with Ram Moreda in the second of the Kessel Racing cars. What is this going to... It's going to throw something at us. There's no doubt in my mind there's going to be some bizarreness happening here.
We've already got plenty of it, because now Sebastian Grauland set his fastest lap of the race. The thing is, how much impetus is there for Grauland to keep pushing like this? He wants to impress, don't get me wrong, because there's rookie tests coming up, there's silly season where teams and drivers may well switch places. The 99 car has now had a spin coming out of turn 3, which is the more motorsport entry, and not a good place for that car to have stalled potentially. No, it's still running.
Can't go forwards because the gravel trap is there. Got to try and get that car turned around, and that's an awful place to stop.
Max van der Snel, the Dutchman, podium earlier on in the year at Spa-Francorchamps, and trying to get the required turning circle to, as you say, avoid the gravel trap.
He can't reverse back too far because he's reversing back into the racing exit line from turn 3. So still double yellows, hasn't got any momentum. They can try to spin the car around, looking for a gap. It's a bit like that scene from Austin Powers, isn't it, in the corridor?
In the golf cart.
Yes.
Now,
there's the leader.
Actually, the situation here, if it did turn into a full course yellow, that would be great news for Cool Racing, because it shouldn't affect the gap, and it will also prevent Grauland from catching up the time. It's now 11.5 seconds. It was basically that when we first started talking about it. David Drew has already headed past this scene. He's not far away, though, from entering it. He's now in this first sector. That might be Drew there, squeaking through.
This is Drew.
So the 97 car will be delayed by that, but so, potentially, will Sebastian Grauland.
I think he can't start that car. I don't think it's a matter of moving it. I don't think the car is running right now.
The gap is still 12 seconds between David Drew in 4th.
But rather bizarrely, he has got room to turn it around forwards here now.
Yes, but he can't
fire the car.
Maybe because he was in reverse and he now can't go through the box to locate first gear. 12 seconds, the difference between 4th place David Drew, 7th place Growland.
We will deploy full course yellow in less than 30 seconds.
And this is where David Drew is going to be on the button.
T3 exit, please bear right.
Fastest lap of the race, by the way, coming into this full course yellow from Adrian David, but he's still in 15th place.
Full course yellow in 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Full course yellow is deployed. T3, we have double yellow. You have to be ready to stop at any time.
You know what a full course yellow does to gaps, though? It increases them.
Yeah.
So all of a sudden, this is a dream scenario for David Drew. Should the race finish?
One more time.
Should the race finish under caution?
Bear right T3. You have to be ready to stop at any time at T3.
So this intervention and the timing, or rather the time it's going to take here, we've got 5 minutes to go. I'm not saying we're going to finish this thing under full course yellow, but there's not going to be much time after it.
I kind of am. But it might be the difference between how Drew and Growland set off.
T3 bear
Absolutely.
right. T3 bear right. We have a car and an intervention vehicle. You have to slow down. If you have to go below 80, do it. Bear right, T3.
The point here is it is that rejoin. It is that rejoin to green flag racing. If you're tardy on the button and you're aboard that cool racing car, if you're in a position where you can't get up to that speed, could that be the deciding moment? That would be utterly incredible.
Releasing the speed limiter under a full course yellow, who does it the most efficiently? Well, at the moment, with these gaps...
We have an additional vehicle at T3. Please instruct your driver to slow down at turn 3.
With these gaps, Drew will only drop a place.
Yeah, but if we
he wouldn't even drop a place. He'd stay fourth.
If we finish on a full course yellow, which I don't think we're going to, he would certainly win the title. But it's then about just where are these cars?
Yeah.
Where is Drew in what I think David Drew is in clear air. I don't think he's got a car around him, so he should have little difficulty getting back on the button. He has got no car around him. But what about Theodor Jensen in the 62 car? He's in traffic with, guess who? The other cool racing car. Sebastian Growland, meanwhile, in the 7th place car, does have clear air. There's so many possibilities here. This could go so right and so wrong in a moment for anyone. You can't call it. And you know, if it was any other racing championship, I'd confidently say that looks pretty good. It's probably nailed it in for David Drew, but I'm not going to do it here.
No.
We should be looking to the skies to see if there's an errant satellite about to crash in.
Land on turn 5. High-class racing, despite their best efforts in the number 20 car, are out of it now because they're not going to finish as the winners. So it is all about the 97 that is in 4th at the moment, but will have a 10-second penalty once we're finished. And the 85 car not scoring any points, but could still win because of the points they've already accumulated through the opening 5 races of the year.
It's bad luck from Tommy Foster, actually, that he's got effectively two leading players in Braveheart ahead of him, battering pieces out of each other with broadswords in what could be the final races for both those squads. And Tommy Foster is up against the emotion that's involved there, including that emotion, by the way. We are 2 minutes from the end of this race. I think we're about to get this back running, and it might be for a single racing lap, Johnny.
Could be. I mean, again, those at Team Tour who are maybe beginning to celebrate.
Keep bearing right at T3. Keep bearing right at T3, please.
They will happily let this race finish under a full course yellow. We're currently doing 3-minute laps, and
but remember, there's no particular delay to rejoining this. We've got to think about a 30-second gap here to determine whether or not this race is going to go back to green.
Yeah, but it depends how quickly they can do that, because we've
where
only
is
got
the
90
car?
seconds left on the clock, and it's going to take about 2 minutes to get from this point to the end of the lap. So if it stays full course yellow for the rest of this lap, I think that's it.
It's not about these cars. It's about the cars behind them.
Yeah, okay. So you mean we might see the leaders over the line in a with a full course yellow still out?
Yeah.
But those behind will continue to race to the line. 1 minute to go. Where's the race leader?
Turn 8.
Heading towards turn 9. Well, not enough time for, if it stays, as I say, full course yellow for the rest of this lap, then
we run out of time for
the checkered flag will be out. However, when the checkered flag is out and the full course yellow is cleared, there's nothing stopping us going back to green for everybody else.
Correct.
To race to the line. This is the final lap. It's been called as such by Alcamel, our timing service. So very little racing for Colin Noble to continue to do. He's got the cushion of 2 GT3 cars in behind as well. This will lock in Alessandro Balzan and Matt Kurzejewski to take a victory as well. Is Gwen Boursier now thinking, I'm not even going to press the green button because it will complicate matters?
It's no time. It is going to finish under full course yellow because the intervention vehicle is not in a place of safety. We are going to finish under full course yellow.
But will all of the cars finish under full course yellow?
77, I will ask you to give me a gap to the car in front. The cars behind 77 do not overtake. We are still under full course yellow. 77, drop the speed. Please drop the speed to allow me to give you checkered flag in a proper condition.
So the checkered flag is going to be displayed, and it's a historic win for Team Tour, as we heard during the race from Steph Wentworth.
12, you have to do one more lap. Car 12, you have to do one more lap.
And that's the Fred Jousset car that led in the early stages. But it is a win for Team Tour for Auden Gudmundsson and Colin Noble, winning by 1.6 seconds over Wayne Boyd in the Nielsen Racing car, and High Class Racing, who miss out on the title, Tommy Foster. But what about in behind? David Drew leads by over 10 seconds from Adrian Klosmini because we're under full course yellow conditions, and will win the title because of these gaps that have been increased massively under a full course yellow. But he would have finished 6th anyway, I think, potentially under green.
It just goes to show we told you something bizarre would happen, and that's it. The gap has been defined by full course yellow. There's the emotion. A win for an Icelandic driver in the Michelin Le Mans Cup. Remarkable stuff. Here comes the 97 car at 80 kilometers an hour, and it will be another title in LMP3. Last year it was the European Le Mans Series for Cool Racing. This year it will be the Michelin Le Mans Cup. David Drew will take the flag and claim the prize. And RHGP, you have to feel for them here. Had the pace, they will finish this race where 15th place for Adrian David.
Malte Jakobsen was in the garage because he knows what it feels like to win this title. Still associated, of course, with Cool Racing, driving with them later on in the European Le Mans Series. But David Drew and all of the team, there's Nico Lapierre as well, cheering his cars over the line. The gap in the end is, let's just have a look. David Drew, 1:16, 1:21 is 5 seconds back, but more crucially to Sebastian Grauland, it is 14 seconds. So, in actual fact, David Drew will finish 6th, even at these slower speeds. Is that right?
It's 1:26. He will finish 6th place.
And he wins the championship, therefore, by 1.5 points.
Unreal. Unreal.
I don't quite know what happened to the speeds in the latter stages there. Adrian Klosmani probably ramping up David Drew's blood pressure there. Don't get too close to me, but it was all about Sebastian Grauland and his 7th placed car of Inter-Europol competition, finishing, as I say, 40 seconds, 14 seconds, 15 seconds rounded up behind David Drew. So that will turn into a 5-second gap once the penalty's been assessed. 5
seconds under full course yellow determines the title. That's remarkable, isn't it?
Yeah. But it was about 11 or 12 seconds under green as well. So it was going the way of David Drew. And then, as I said, as that spin for Max van der Snel, all of a sudden, Team Tour, their ears pricked up, thinking we'll probably cement our race win. That's the GT3 winner coming across the line.
It's taken that long to get across the line. So it is a 1-2 for AF Corsa. By the way, it's a 3-4. We're still waiting for the number 12 car to cross the line because that, of course, was just in front of our race winner. It'll be a 3-4 for Castle Racing. So therefore, a 1-2-3-4 for Ferrari here. Well, that, as we wind down, confirmed here with our graphic, it is the Teams Championship to Cool Racing's number 97 crew. Well, if you enjoyed that, why wouldn't you have done? I know we had some issues with our stream. We apologise for that, and also somewhat interrupted racing. But remember, there's 4 hours more racing to come this afternoon with the European Le Mans Series title decider. And if you think that was complex and emotion-fueled, boy oh boy, have you got a treat to come later today, because ELMS is still to follow. I don't know about you, but I'm hugely looking forward to what we've got to be talking about for 4 hours this afternoon, Johnny Palmer.
Well, there's only one championship that we needed to keep clued into during that hour and 50 minutes. There are actually 4 for us to get the shoes and socks off for. The abacus out and try and stay on top of precisely what will happen next. So we'll need quite a bit of luck.
Remember, it's not just the honour of winning the championship, it's not just the trophies, it's not just the champagne and the laurel wreaths, it's invitations to the Le Mans 24 Hours on the go here for LMP2, the first 2 cars in that championship, LMP2 Pro-Am, LMP3, and the new for 2024 LMGT3, who will be the inaugural champions. And coming into qualifying yesterday, the astonishing figure that 9 out of the 11 cars could still win. Not the case now with the way in which the point worked for qualifying, but it's been an astonishingly open championship, simply because we've had cars winning and then having pretty much disastrous seasons otherwise. But it's, we're going to come into the final race of this season with the top 2 cars on equal points.
Situation for David Drew, I was about to say might get a little bit better, but it won't change the gaps between cars. But Tommy Foster's now on the review for not following race direction instructions. Was that in the race? Was that on the run to the line or the slowing down lap? But the gaps, well, the gap David Drew to Growland is the important one, and actually any penalty for the 20 car won't change that.
No, it will not. He could end up at another position
higher,
but
we know
way,
that 6th is enough.
Yeah, there are no apparent reasons not to celebrate the 97 crew taking this title, and a moment as well to say well done and farewell to Team Tour, the Icelandic squad for Auden Gudmundsson, handled these days by High Class Racing. David Drew stalks towards the podium.
Is he still yet to be told that you've got the title? Because he didn't seem to be bouncing there with a huge amount of enthusiasm. Maybe he is still in the dark.
Maybe he's unsure.
Yeah. To be honest, I'm still a bit unsure, but I think we've read it correctly.
Well, here comes Colin Noble back round to the collecting area, and he will go to the podium with Auden Gudmundsson. I've got a funny feeling we may see more members of the Gudmundsson family on that podium.
Oh, right. OK. Well, there was a very young chap in the garage. It'll be a few years before he's behind the wheel of a racing car.
But very proud of this effort.
2021 was Auden's first season.
Was it really?
With Team Tour. And he competed in all 7 races with the 2 at Le Mans. So 21, 22, 23, 24, and they sign off with a race victory. They've been different teammates through the course of that, of course. With, in the initial year, Auden sharing with Tom Ashton.
Oh, Tom Ashton, yes, indeed, because it was a Finnish team that looked after him the first year, and it was later that they came to work with High Class Racing. So Colin Noble getting the congratulations of the Team Tour High Class Racing crew. Aggressive run to the front of that race. It was a wheel-to-wheel stuff, wasn't it, with his age-old rival in LMP3, Wayne Boyd.
Yeah, and Wayne tried absolutely everything to get ahead. There's the embrace with Auden Goodmanson, and Colin, of course, will know about the announcement as well. Tony Wells is there too.
Long-time partner, of course, to Colin Noble in Nielsen Racing. There's our title winners celebrating another race win. Alessandra Balzan adds a European title in the Michelin Le Mans Cup to 2 Inter titles in the recent past. There's a smile. Can be a bit of a dour Scot, Colin Noble, when things don't go his way. But it's good to see that victory being celebrated, and it's been a tough season for this pair. Great to see it finally pay off in this final race of, well, the season, by the sound of it, for this team.
Yes. Yeah, so what next for Colin then? Opportunities, I'm sure, elsewhere.
Well, you know, he's a known quantity in LMP3 racing. We've got this new class to be added. Should make it, it's a silver-gold class, isn't it? Or silver class, rather, we can expect to see coming forward for the Michelin Le Mans Cup next season as an additional arm. So it's going to be a very different look and feel next year with the new cars as well to the Michelin Le Mans Cup. For right now, the old guard go out with a win.
I reckon the 51 Ferrari crew, they got pole position yesterday as well, didn't they? So they'll move to 133.5 points, which is a massive tally.
Almost double the next car's total.
Yeah. Well, the 88 did score 18 today as well, but yes, it's quite something to get to 3 figures, and then to get through a third of the next 100 points is some statement. And we already detailed that they won the race and won the championship with a race to spare at Mugello, at Alessandro's home race, and that was the 3rd victory. Today's the 4th victory of the season.
This occurs to me, by the way, 2 high-class racing run cars on the podium there.
As in Team Tour and high-class racing. Yes.
It's Tommy Foster and Jens Reino Müller. Jens with his back to us here. His history in sports car racing goes back almost the beginning of this century.
So we caught up with one half of the driving talent from the winning car, and I'm sure a chance to get reaction from him again, but more crucially, the driver that brought it to the victory under full course yellow. Here's Steph.
I am joined by the winners of the final race of the season, Team Tour car number 77. Auden, we talked to you before about how much this means to you, your final race, and you've gone out with a bang.
Yeah, this means so much for me, and you cannot believe in how many emotions and how grateful and thankful I am for this and for being his partner. He's totally awesome.
And Colin, you've been a great partnership for quite a while, and it was a fantastic race from you, great drive, continuous pressure from Wayne Boyd behind, as always. You two always seem to be in the mix with one another, but you came out on top.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, we've got to give a lot of thanks to High Class Racing. The car was awesome. We were struggling all weekend. They did some changes, so we were going into the race a bit blind, and always said after qualifying, bring it in near the top 10 and we'll have a good chance. And yeah, brought it in at top 10, safety car came out nicely, and we're pretty fired up for the restart.
All right, congratulations, enjoy the podium, guys.
Thank you.
Some reference perhaps there to the contact that was made with Sven Muller's Porsche at the restart, but that's been looked at again, and Colin Noble in the clear. Where do we start with bringing you the story of the finale for the Michelin Le Mans Cup? Well, at the start would be the most logical, and it was a clean getaway for most. We were maybe expecting a few more fireworks into the first sequence of corners, the triple right-hander, but there was the odd lock-up here and there, maybe a touch, a minor incidents which sent some debris across the race to the racetrack, but generally speaking, everyone squeaked through. And it was the good start from Fabien Michal, who built the lead on car number 85. George Nakas, they looked at that potential contact with Custodio Toledo's 88 Ferrari, and also Stefan Austoff in the gravel at Portimão corners at the top of the hill. There was a difficulty for Pierre de Curtens with a tyre rubbing on the rear right wheel arch in the early stages. Celia Martin locked the crosshairs onto the rear of the number 90 Aston Martin. and almost a misjudgment. Well, it was a misjudgment under brakes, but thankfully contact was avoided as Andrew Gilbert went well to the right. Initial lead change, Andrew Bentley getting a cracking run on Fabien Michel to put the Stella Motorsport Ligier up ahead, Stella Motorsport Duquesne, I should say, in front of the fellow Duquesne D08. Then side-by-side running between Auden Gudmundsson and the Breton Racing number 62 in the opening exchanges. Plenty of action within GT3. However, David Fuminelli, who started the number 12 car, he's the gold, really romped away into a huge lead of nearly 20 seconds and left the other bronze drivers to decide who was wanting to be second. At the restart, when the pros were in, Colin Noble and Wayne Boyd first of all ran side by side, and then there was the squeeze on Sven Muller's high-class racing Porsche. So that's a high-class run car, Colin Noble, into a high-class entered car, and causing Sven Muller a real problem. That was looked at. We then received news that it would be checked after the race, but because of a lengthy full course yellow, the steward room were able to, in fact, reach a decision before we got to the checkered flag, and Colin Noble was judged to be in the clear. So he was out front, but we had this bizarre scenario whereby RHGP got the wrong side of a safety car and rejoined way down and out of the point. So having seen Fabien Michel dominate the opening stages, Wayne Boyd to the outside in this moment to try and take the race lead off Colin Noble. That's how Team Tour and their supporters reacted to it. But Colin weathered that storm, and it was helped by a massive whack of the curb at turn 4 for Wayne Boyd, which rather delayed him. Then David Fuminelli had to, at some point, hand his car over to his bronze teammate Fred Jousset, and Jousset just did not have the pace compared to Alexandre Balzan, the gold in Ferrari number 51. We were firmly concentrated on where the David Drew Adrian Schiller number 97 car was, because it was to be given a 10-second penalty because of contact in the race, and massively helping them out was this late safety car, late full course yellow, after Max van der Snel had a spin. That increased the gaps and maintained the championship win for David Drew and Adrian Schiller. He needed 10 seconds. He ended up with 15 because they were all going so slowly, and the most unusual way to win a title for 97. 51, the title winners, win today's race.
Well, we come to the podium, and it is the third car that was in title contention, and they finished third here. Couldn't quite do it on the day, needed the win, couldn't get there. Tommy Foster and Jens Reiner Moller, Danish team for high-class racing, finished third here today. Second, Wayne Boyd and Tony Wells for Nielsen Racing. What future for the team and these two drivers? But the win today, Team Tour, the number 77 squad, it's Colin Noble and Auden Gudmundsson, and a very happy crew indeed, and as well they should be. And uniquely, Johnny, we're going to hear the Icelandic anthem.
Yes, we are.
I've no idea what that sounds like,
well,
but I'm keen to find out.
Auden Gudmundsson, every time I see him in the paddock, is desperate to play it to me on his phone. So we'll hear it for real this time.
What a proud moment for him.
And the Nicolet family with seeing a Ligier top 3, a full podium for the French squad. So time now to pause at the end of the Michelin Le Mans Cup season for a slightly unusual national anthem. Iceland a few tournaments ago, but it's great to have it in motor racing. Sadly, that will be the only time we hear it for Team Tour if they're bowing out. Could Team Tour continue to exist? Probably not, because Auden Gudmundsson is the driving force behind it.
He is absolutely the driving force behind it. What a period of time it's been. It's been great to have them here. Great to see another nation emerging into an international motorsport, and hopefully that inspires others from his great nation to do that.
That would be excellent. Sweden maybe, Norway as a team entry, because the Danes get it, don't they? They've been coming back to ACO rules racing for so many years
We did have racing team Sweden for one season in the Michelin Le Mans Cup.
Okay.
Remember Stanley Dickens involved in that, the Le Mans winning driver, but I'm not sure they finished the season.
Pyrotechnics are unleashed, as is the champagne, and the celebrations begin. But time now for us to catch up elsewhere with the champions.
Well, talking about celebrations, I am now joined by the LMP3 champions, the number 97 Cool Racing. Adrian, you are the reigning champion in LMP3 and ELMS as well. Expert, you've managed to do it here too. Congratulations.
Yeah, thank you. No, it's incredible. It's a feeling I waiting it during all the year, and I'm very happy to celebrate it with my 2024 teammate. So it's incredible feeling. I'm so happy.
You two have both had much success with Cool Racing, and you've been a fantastic partnership all season. David, we did talk about it a little bit yesterday, but how much does this mean to you?
Yeah, it's fantastic. It's my second year with the team, and the goal at the beginning of the season was clear. We wanted to win it because the team has won pretty much a lot of things, but never Le Mans Cup, actually. They've tried a lot, but so we achieved the goal, and I think it's nice.
All right, massive congratulations, guys. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Well, a crazy end, and I still would be fascinated to know how much David Drew actually knew about what was going on around him.
Well, it's an unusual way to score that title double. There is the overall race classification. Team Tour take the win. The times don't really matter other than that 10-second gap. 52 laps completed. Nielsen Racing's number 7 car second, High Class Racing third, then the title-winning number 97 car. You've got to go all the way down to 15th to RACE GP. They were the title leaders coming into this race. 21st place for the race winners and title winners last time out, the 51 AF Corsa car, and they lead a 1, 2, 3, 4 for the Ferraris, 2 AF Corsa cars, 2 Kessel cars.
So that's the official results. The one duo we're missing is the winners in GT3. Here's Steph.
Joined by the winners in GT3, not just the winners of this final race. We've already celebrated the fact that you guys won the championship last race out. Alessandro, it's incredible what you've managed to achieve this season. How much does this win mean to you, the final race of the season?
It means, you know, it's always nice to win. It's our first time racing at Portimão, and it's a team effort, you know. AF Corsa gave us a great car today. 51 felt really good as Mugello, and Matt drove an amazing first stint. And today the race was pretty wild with the P3, and you can tell there was a championship on the table because everybody was a little bit aggressive, but in a very good way. And now was fun, you know, to catch the Kessel car that, you know, they were leading with such a big advantage, but at the same time I had so much pressure from car 88, our sister car from Riccardo Agostini and Jose Toledo. So it's a great way to end the season where we had a great time, and of course a lot of fun and great results.
Matt, do you have anything to add on what has really been an incredible season for the both of you?
No, AF Corsa has prepared a fantastic car for us all season. Couldn't ask for anything more. I believe that they provided the best equipment they absolutely could. It's been an absolute pleasure racing with Alessandro all season, and a fun schedule. I'm very sad to see it come to an end, but happy to see what happens next year, and I guess go from there.
All right, congratulations again, guys. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
A 1-2 finish for AF Corsa, and the national anthem of Italy, of course, for Alessandro Balzan as well. His American teammate Matt Kurzajewski And as he mentioned during Steph's interview, lots of pressure from Custodio Toledo and particularly Riccardo Agostini in the latter stages. The gap towards the end was actually 0.9 of a second.
Yeah.
And that was under full course yellow, wasn't it?
They were nose to tail
right
for the last couple of laps. Great stuff there. Great run to the title for that pair. Alessandro Balzan, a real veteran, as I said before, double IMSA title winner just about, must be about a decade ago now. But Matt Kurzajewski, classically the kind of customer driver here that's using this as a step to the next step. Spoke to him last time out. He doesn't know what that's going to be yet, looking at a variety of options, but that's what this championship does. Gives you the opportunity to measure yourself. There's Miller there, the Kessel Racing PR below the podium, but gives you an opportunity to measure yourself against the competition and determine what the correct next level is going to be. Has real value to this customer racing community.
Because the World Endurance Championship and the ELMS are now effectively to GT3 rules, no longer do we have an automatic invitation for the winners in GT3 in this championship. But AF Corsa, I'm sure, will be there with plenty of cars. It wouldn't be Le Mans without them. Here are the final positions then. 73.5 from our race GP. I thought the gap was slightly larger, but it depends actually. David Drew, does finish 4th. They've not put the penalty in though yet, have they? Or maybe Alcamel have issued that. So it's a bigger lead in the end of 5.5 points. Adrian Schiller and David Drew win by Fabien Michal and Adrian David. Then Jens Reno Muller and Tommy Foster, who were always the outside bet. They got a good result. They're on the podium in LMP3. A massive 133.5 points for the 51 duo of Balzan and Kurzajewski, winning from their team car, number 88. So well done to Toledo and Agostini for their cracking season. You could easily win on 91.5 points, frankly. Kessel Racing get third with their 74 car. So that is Andrew Gilbert and Fran Rader. Nick Jones, he's had different teammates through the year, so solo in 4th position ahead of David Fuminelli and Fred Jose. They're into 5th because of a podium result today.
One quick thing to add, by the way, the LMP3 results. That win for Team Tour means they finished by 1 point 4th in the standings. So they closed right up. Well, it's been some weekend for the Michelin Le Mans Cup. Johnny?
It certainly has. And if that has whetted your appetite for more racing around the Portimão circuit, we've got 4 hours to look forward to for the European Le Mans Series finale. It starts at 2:30. But Graham Goodwin, Steph Wentworth and me, Johnny Palmer, will be on air at 2:10 for all the build-up as the cars head towards the grid. We'll run you through the runners and riders. Something like 9 different teams in LMGT3 could still win the title, and there's plenty up for grabs in LMP3 and the 2 LMP2 divisions as well. Be sure to join us in a few hours' time here from Portimão. Bye-bye.